The boy appeared at midnight with blood on his knuckles and a secret that could get him killed. He stood in the freezing rain outside the Iron Vulture's clubhouse, 14 years old, shielding a little girl behind his back like a human shield. His eyes carried the kind of exhaustion that doesn't come from one bad night. It comes from months of surviving something nobody should have to name out loud. When the garage door rolled open, 50 tons of chrome and leather and danger spilled into the alley. Men with prison ink and scarred knuckles, women with eyes that had seen war. The kind of people decent society crosses the street to avoid. The boy didn't run. He whispered 4 words that changed everything. Please, they'll kill her. If you want to see how a brotherhood of outlaws becomes the only family that matters, stay until the very end. Hit that like button and drop a comment telling me what city you're watching from. You're about to witness something raw. The rain came down like nails against concrete. Noah Vale pressed his back against the brick wall of the warehouse district, one arm wrapped around Ivy's trembling shoulders, the other hand gripping the torn strap of her backpack like it was a lifeline. His sister was 8 years old and hadn't spoken in 3 days. Not since the night the apartment door had splintered inward and everything they knew about safety had shattered with it. The streets were empty. Industrial. The kind of neighborhood where people minded their business because curiosity got you hurt. Streetlights buzzed and flickered overhead, casting shadows that moved wrong. Noah's breath came in short, controlled bursts, the way someone breathes when they've learned that panic gets you caught. Ivy's fingers dug into his soaked jacket. She was shaking so hard her teeth chattered. "Where are we going?" she whispered. Noah didn't answer because he didn't have one. They'd been walking for 2 hours since escaping through the fire escape, and every passing headlight made his heart slam against his ribs. He kept replaying the sound of footsteps behind them 3 blocks back. Heavy, deliberate, following. Then he saw it. The Iron Vultures. MC Clubhouse sat at the end of a dead-end street like something out of a nightmare. Rusted corrugated metal walls, barbed wire coiled across the top of chain-link fencing. A single flickering neon sign shaped like a vulture's skull glowing blood red through the downpour. Rows of motorcycles lined the front, Harleys mostly, chrome catching the light like predator eyes in the dark. Noah had passed this place before. Everyone in the neighborhood knew about the Iron Vultures. Dangerous men, outlaws, the kind of people parents warned their kids to avoid. But Noah was out of options, and the footsteps were getting closer. He pulled Ivy forward, stumbling through the rain toward the side entrance. There was a door, steel, reinforced, painted flat black. No window, just a dented surface that looked like it had taken a battering ram once and survived. Noah raised his fist and knocked, 3 times. Soft, uncertain. Nothing happened. Ivy whimpered. "Noah." "Shh." He knocked again, harder this time, desperation bleeding through his control. Behind them, somewhere in the maze of warehouses and empty lots, an engine growled to life. Close. Too close. The door swung open. The man standing there was built like a nightmare. 6'4", shoulders wide enough to block the doorway entirely, arms covered in faded military tattoos and scarred knuckles. He wore a leather vest over a black shirt, the words Iron Vultures MC stitched across the back in silver thread above a skull with wings. His face was weathered, hard-lined, the kind of face that had seen violence and returned it with interest. His name was Creed Mercer, though Noah didn't know that yet. Creed's eyes, cold, gray, unreadable, flicked from Noah's split lip to Ivy's terrified face to the rain-soaked alley behind them. He didn't move, didn't speak, just stood there like a wall made of leather and bad decisions. Noah's throat closed up. Every instinct screamed at him to run, but Ivy's hand was locked in his, and behind them, headlights swept across the far end of the alley. "Please," Noah whispered. The word barely made it past his lips. "Not me. Her. Creed stared at him for 3 seconds that felt like eternity. Then he stepped aside. Inside. Now. Noah didn't hesitate. He pulled Ivy through the doorway into the warmth and noise and chaos of the Iron Vulture's clubhouse, and the door slammed shut behind them like the ceiling of a tomb. Wag. The garage smelled like motor oil, cigarette smoke, and old leather. It was a single massive space, high ceilings, concrete floors stained black from decades of grease and exhaust, walls lined with workbenches covered in tools and engine parts. A dozen motorcycles sat in various states of repair beneath hanging work lights that swung gently from unseen drafts. In the back corner, a wood-burning stove roared, throwing heat across the room. And everywhere, there were bikers. Men and women in leather cuts and denim, boots heavy on concrete, cigarettes dangling from lips, beer bottles sweating on metal tables. Some worked on bikes, others played cards. A few sat in silence, cleaning weapons or sharpening knives with the kind of casual efficiency that made Noah's stomach drop. The moment Noah and Ivy stepped inside, every single person stopped what they were doing and looked. The silence was suffocating. Ivy pressed herself against Noah's side, her face buried in his jacket. Noah forced himself to stand still, to meet those hard, suspicious eyes, even though his legs felt like they might give out. He'd seen violence before. He knew the look of people who could hurt you without blinking. These people had that look in spades. Creed moved past them without a word, boots echoing across the floor. He stopped beside a woman with silver-streaked hair tied back in a braid, wearing a leather vest identical to his. She was mid-50s, maybe, lean and sharp-eyed, with ink running down both arms and a scar cutting through her left eyebrow. "Ghost," Creed said quietly. "Got a situation." The woman, Ghost, turned her full attention to Noah and Ivy. Her expression didn't change, but something flickered in her eyes. Recognition, maybe, or memory. She set down the wrench in her hand and walked over. Up close, Ghost Malone looked like someone who'd survived a war nobody talked about. Her hands were scarred. Her knuckles were thick from old breaks. But her eyes, dark brown, steady, held something unexpected. Sadness. "You hurt?" she asked Noah. Her voice was low, rough from years of cigarettes and cold wind. Noah shook his head. "She's not." Ghost's gaze shifted to Ivy, then back to Noah. "Wasn't asking about her." Noah's jaw tightened. He didn't answer. Ghost studied him for a long moment, then crouched down to Ivy's level. The little girl flinched, but Ghost stayed perfectly still, hands visible, non-threatening. "Hey, sweetheart," Ghost said gently. "You hungry?" Ivy didn't respond. She just stared at Ghost like she was trying to decide if this was another trap. Ghost glanced up at Noah. "When's the last time she ate?" "Yesterday morning," Noah admitted. His voice cracked on the words. Something dangerous flashed across Ghost's face. Anger, but not directed at them. She stood slowly, turned to the room, and raised her voice. "Reaper, get the kitchen going, hot chocolate, sandwiches, whatever we got." A massive man near the back, bald, tattooed neck to fingertips, wearing a leather cut with road captain stitched on the chest, grunted acknowledgement and disappeared through a side door. Ghost turned back to Noah. "You got a name?" "Noah. Noah Vale. Itam." He hesitated. "This is Ivy." "Where are your parents, Noah?" The question hit like a punch. Noah's hands curled into fists at his sides. "Gone." "Gone how?" "Does it matter?" Ghost's expression didn't change, but her eyes narrowed slightly. "Yeah, it matters." Noah looked away. His throat burned. "Our mom left 8 months ago. Didn't come back. The guy who owned the apartment said we could stay if—" He stopped. Couldn't finish. "If what?" Ghost pressed. Noah's voice dropped to a whisper. "If I made sure Ivy stayed quiet." The temperature in the room seemed to drop 10 degrees. Ghost exhaled slowly through her nose, the kind of breath someone takes when they're trying very hard not to break something. Around them, the other bikers had gone completely still, not watching anymore, but listening, hard, focused, dangerous. "This guy got a name?" Ghost asked. Noah shook his head quickly. "We don't want trouble. We just need—" He swallowed. "Somewhere to stay. Just tonight. We'll leave in the morning." "You're 14, Ghost said flatly. "Where exactly are you planning to go?" Noah didn't have an answer for that. Behind them, the side door opened and Reaper returned carrying 2 chipped mugs of hot chocolate and a plate stacked with sandwiches. He set them on a nearby workbench without a word, then stepped back into the shadows. Ghost gestured toward the food. "Eat." Ivy looked up at Noah, silently asking permission. Noah nodded, and she moved slowly toward the workbench, picked up one of the mugs with both hands, and took a cautious sip. For the first time in days, something like relief crossed her face. Noah's chest tightened. He turned away before anyone could see his eyes water. Ghost watched him carefully. You don't trust Easy, do you? Why would I? Fair point. She crossed her arms. But you knocked on our door. That means you trust us more than wherever you came from. Noah's silence was answer enough. Ghost looked past him to Creed, who stood near the entrance with his arms crossed, watching the alley through a narrow window. Anyone follow them? Not sure yet, Creed replied. But someone's looking. I saw headlights circling the block before I opened the door. Noah's stomach dropped. He knows we ran. Der resort. Saw him. Who knows? Ghost asked sharply. Noah didn't answer. Couldn't. Ivy had set down her mug and moved to Noah's side again, gripping his hand. She looked up at him with wide, terrified eyes, and Noah realized with sickening clarity that she thought they were about to be thrown out, that they'd run out of places to hide. Ghost seemed to read the panic in both their faces because her expression softened, just slightly. She glanced around the room at the other bikers, all of whom were still watching in tense silence. Wraith, Ghost called. A woman near the card table stood. She was younger than Ghost, maybe mid-30s, with short black hair, a nose ring, and ink covering every visible inch of skin except her face. She wore the same leather cut, with enforcer stitched on the chest. Yeah? Wraith's voice was clipped sharp. Check the perimeter. If anyone's watching the clubhouse, I want to know about it. Wraith nodded once and headed for the exit. Creed followed without being asked. The door shut behind them with a heavy thunk. Noah's pulse hammered in his ears. He didn't know what was happening. Didn't know if these people were helping or if they'd just trapped themselves in a worse situation. Ghost turned back to him. You're safe here. For now. Why? Noah's voice came out harsher than he intended. You don't know us. Why would you help? Ghost's jaw tightened. Because I was you once. The words hung in the air like smoke. Noah stared at her, trying to find the lie, the angle, the catch. But Ghost's face was unreadable, carved from stone and old scars. Before he could respond, a phone buzzed somewhere across the room. One of the bikers near the stove pulled out a cell, glanced at the screen, and swore under his breath. Ghost, the man called. We got company. Everyone in the garage tensed. Ghost moved fast across the room in 3 strides, grabbing the phone and reading whatever message had come through. Her expression darkened. How many? She asked quietly. 2 vehicles, parked on Archer Street, engines running. Noah's blood turned to ice. Archer Street was 2 blocks away. He's looking for us, Noah whispered. His voice shook despite his best effort to control it. We have to leave. We have to. You're not going anywhere, Ghost cut him off. Her tone left no room for argument. She looked at the man who'd handed her the phone, a wiry guy with graying hair and a scar running from his temple to his jaw. Smoke, get the prospect. Tell him to roll the shutters and kill the exterior lights. Smoke nodded and vanished through a back hallway. Ghost turned to the rest of the room. Everyone else, business as usual. Nobody looks rattled. Nobody goes outside unless I say so. The bikers moved without question, back to their card games, their bikes, their tools. But the tension didn't leave. It coiled tighter, sharper, like a spring wound too far. Noah felt like the walls were closing in. You don't understand. He's not going to stop. If he finds us here, he'll... He'll what? Ghost's eyes locked onto his. Hurt you? Hurt her? She stepped closer, voice dropping to something cold and lethal. Kid, I don't know who this asshole is, but if he rolls up on this clubhouse looking for you, he's going to learn real fast what happens when you fuck with the wrong people. Noah opened his mouth, closed it. He didn't know what to say. Ivy tugged on his jacket. Noah? Her voice was so small, so scared. He knelt down beside her, forcing himself to breathe, to stay calm even though his heart was trying to claw its way out of his chest. It's okay, he lied. We're okay. Ivy didn't look convinced. She pressed her face against his shoulder, trembling. Ghost watched them for a moment, then turned to Reaper. Get them somewhere warm, away from the windows. Reaper gestured for Noah and Ivy to follow. Come on. Noah hesitated. Every instinct told him not to go deeper into this place, not to trust strangers who looked like they could break him in half without trying. But Ivy's hand was freezing in his, and outside engines were circling like wolves. He followed Reaper through the garage toward a back room. Behind them, Ghost pulled a pistol from the holster on her hip, checked the magazine, and slid it back into place with a metallic click that echoed through the sudden silence. Eek. The back room was small, concrete walls, a single couch that had seen better decades, a space heater glowing orange in the corner. A few old posters hung crooked on the walls, faded images of motorcycles and desert highways. It smelled like dust and old cigarettes, but it was warm. Reaper gestured toward the couch. Sit. Or ease da e bum. Noah eased Ivy down onto the cushions. She curled into a ball immediately, pulling her knees to her chest. Noah sat beside her, one hand resting protectively on her shoulder. Reaper stood in the doorway, arms crossed, watching them with an unreadable expression. He was a huge man, probably 6'5", built like a freight train, with a shaved head and a thick beard streaked with gray. His eyes were dark, hard, but not cruel. "You got any other family?" Reaper asked. Noah shook his head. "No one. Friends? Teachers? Anyone who knows where you are?" "No," Reaper grunted. "Smart, sort of." Noah frowned. "What's that supposed to mean?" "Means you didn't leave a trail, but also means nobody's looking for you." Reaper's gaze shifted to Ivy. "How long's she been like this?" "Like what?" "Silent." Noah's jaw tightened. 3 days. "She hurt?" "No. Just—" Noah trailed off. He didn't know how to explain it. Ivy had stopped talking after the last time the door had been kicked in, when the yelling had turned into something worse, and Noah had thrown himself between her and the man whose name he still refused to say out loud. She hadn't spoken since. Reaper studied them both for a long moment, then nodded slowly. "Ghost'll figure it out." "Figure what out?" "What to do with you." "Hey." The word sent a chill down Noah's spine. "We're not asking for anything. We'll leave in the morning." Reaper's expression didn't change. "You knocked on our door, kid. That makes you our problem now." Before Noah could respond, footsteps echoed in the hallway. Wraith appeared in the doorway, rain dripping from her leather jacket. She looked at Reaper, then jerked her head toward the main garage. "They're still out there. 2 SUVs, tinted windows. One guy got out and walked the block, took pictures of the clubhouse." Noah's stomach twisted. "That's him." Wraith's eyes cut to Noah. "Him who?" Noah didn't answer. His hands were shaking again. Wraith crouched down in front of him, her gaze sharp and unyielding. "Listen to me, kid. If someone's hunting you, we need to know what we're dealing with. Who is he?" Noah's throat felt like sandpaper. "Nobody, just a guy." "Bullshit." Wraith's voice was hard. "Guys don't circle a biker clubhouse at midnight unless they're either stupid or desperate. So which one is he?" "Both," Noah whispered. Wraith's jaw tightened. She stood, glanced at Reaper. "Ghost wants eyes on them all night. You take first watch." Reaper nodded. "Copy." Wraith turned back to Noah one last time. "You're safe here. But if that asshole tries to come through our door, we're going to need you to stay out of the way. Understood?" "Oi, Troy, uspasim." Noah nodded mutely. Wraith left without another word. The silence that followed felt suffocating. Ivy shifted beside Noah, her small hand finding his. "Are they going to hurt us?" she whispered, the first word she'd spoken all day. Noah's chest tightened. He wanted to lie, wanted to tell her everything would be okay, but he was so tired of lying. "I don't know," he admitted. Ivy's eyes filled with tears. "I want Mom." Noah pulled her close, wrapping both arms around her trembling frame. "I know, me too." But their mother wasn't coming back. Noah had accepted that months ago. All they had now was each other, and a room full of dangerous strangers who might be their only chance at survival. The night stretched on. Noah sat on the couch, back straight, eyes on the door, while Ivy dozed fitfully against his side. Reaper remained in the hallway, silent and unmoving, like a statue carved from violence and old regrets. Outside, the rain continued to fall, and somewhere in the dark, engines still rumbled, circling, waiting, hunting. Noah closed his eyes and tried to remember the last time he'd felt safe. It had been years, maybe longer. Safety wasn't something kids like him got to keep. But then Ivy whimpered in her sleep, and Noah's arms tightened around her instinctively. He didn't know these people, didn't trust them, but they hadn't thrown him and Ivy back into the rain. And for now, that was enough. Footsteps approached. Noah's eyes snapped open. Ghost appeared in the doorway, silhouetted against the flickering light from the main garage. She looked at Reaper, who gave a small nod, then stepped aside to let her pass. Ghost moved into the room slowly, hands visible, non-threatening. She pulled a folding chair from the corner and sat down across from Noah. For a moment, neither of them spoke. "The vehicles are gone," Ghost finally said. "For now." Noah exhaled shakily. "He'll come back. I know, you don't understand. I understand more than you think." Ghost's voice was quiet but firm. "I've seen this before, Noah. Kids running from bad situations. Adults who think they own them." Her eyes darkened. "People who don't stop until someone makes them." Noah stared at her. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying you're not the first kid who's knocked on our door, and you won't be the last." Ghost leaned forward, elbows on her knees. "But here's the thing, kid. Once you're inside these walls, you're protected. That's the rule. No exceptions." "Why?" Noah's voice cracked. "Why would you do that?" Ghost was silent for a long time. When she spoke again, her voice was rough with something that sounded like old pain. "Because nobody protected me when I was your age, and I'll be damned if I let that happen to someone else." The words hit Noah like a freight train. He looked at Ghost, really looked at her, and saw the scars, the hard edges, the weight of years she carried in her eyes. She'd survived something too. "What do you want from us?" Noah whispered. "Nothing." Ghost stood. "Get some sleep. Tomorrow, we figure out the rest." She turned to leave, but Noah's voice stopped her. "What if he comes back tonight?" Ghost looked over her shoulder. Her expression was cold, dangerous. "Then he'll learn what the iron vultures do to people who hunt kids." She walked out, leaving Noah alone with the echo of her words and the heavy silence of the night. Hours passed. Noah didn't sleep. Couldn't. He sat on the couch, listening to the sounds of the clubhouse. Boots on concrete, low voices, the occasional roar of an engine starting and idling in the cold. Ivy slept curled against him, her breathing soft and even for the first time in days. Around 3 a.m., the side door slammed open. Voices erupted in the main garage. Sharp, urgent. Noah jerked upright, heart pounding. Reaper was gone from the hallway. Then he heard it, shouting, not from inside the clubhouse, from outside. A man's voice slurred with alcohol and rage, screaming threats through the chain-link fence. "I know you're in there. I know you got them. You think you can hide them from me?" Noah's blood turned to ice. It was him. Ivy woke with a gasp, eyes wide and terrified. "Noah, stay here." Noah stood, moving toward the doorway on legs that felt like they might give out. He stepped into the main garage and froze. Every single biker in the clubhouse was standing, silent, armed. Ghost stood at the front, a shotgun resting casually over her shoulder. Creed was beside her, hands loose at his sides, but his entire body coiled like a spring ready to snap. Wraith, Reaper, Smoke, and a dozen others formed a line across the garage, leather cuts, scarred knuckles, cold eyes. They looked like an army. Outside, the man continued screaming, "You hear me? Those kids are mine. You got no right." "Open the gate," Ghost said quietly. One of the prospects moved to the control panel and hit a button. The chain-link gate began to roll open with a metallic groan. Noah's heart stopped. "What are you doing?" Ghost glanced back at him. "Ending this? He'll do nothing." Ghost's voice was stone. "Stay inside, Noah." The gate finished opening. The man stumbled forward into the circle of security lights. Mid-40s, unshaven, reeking of cheap whiskey even from 20 feet away. He was big, broad-shouldered, wearing stained jeans and a torn jacket. His eyes were wild, bloodshot. He looked at the line of bikers and laughed. A harsh, ugly sound. "That's it? You're trying to scare me with your little biker gang?" He took another step forward. "I want those kids, now." Ghost stepped forward, alone. The man's grin faltered. Ghost stopped 5 feet from him. She didn't raise the shotgun, didn't need to. The weight of her presence, of all of them, was enough. "You got 3 seconds to walk away," Ghost said quietly. The man's face twisted with rage. "Or what? You gonna shoot me in front of all these witnesses?" He gestured wildly at the empty street. "Go ahead. I'll have the cops here before—" "1," Ghost said. The man blinked. 2. He took a step back. Something in Ghost's eyes finally registered in his alcohol-soaked brain. She wasn't bluffing. 3. Behind Ghost, every biker took a single step forward in perfect unison. Boots hit concrete like a war drum. The man turned and ran. He stumbled back to his SUV, engine roaring to life, tires screeching as he peeled away into the night. Ghost stood in the middle of the open gate, shotgun still over her shoulder, watching until the taillights disappeared. Then she turned and walked back inside. The gate rolled shut behind her. Noah stood frozen in the doorway, heart hammering, unable to process what he'd just witnessed. Ghost stopped in front of him. "He'll be back?" "I know. And when he does, we'll be ready." Ghost's eyes met his. "You're not alone anymore, Noah. Neither of you." Noah's throat tightened. He wanted to believe her, wanted to believe that safety was something he could actually have. But he'd learned a long time ago that hope was dangerous. "Why are you doing this?" he whispered. Ghost's expression softened. Just barely. "Because someone has to." She walked past him toward the back room where Ivy was waiting. Noah followed. When they entered, Ivy was sitting on the couch, clutching her torn fantasy novel like a lifeline, tears streaming down her face. Ghost knelt in front of her. "You okay, sweetheart?" Ivy shook her head. "Is he gone?" "For now." "He's gonna come back." Ivy's voice broke. "He always comes back." Ghost looked at Noah, then back to Ivy. "Not this time." "How do you know?" Ghost's jaw tightened. "Because this time, he's not dealing with 2 scared kids. He's dealing with us." Ivy stared at her, small and fragile and so desperately wanting to believe. Ghost reached out slowly, giving Ivy time to pull away. When she didn't, Ghost gently brushed a tear from her cheek. "You're safe here," Ghost said quietly. "I promise." Ivy's face crumpled. She lunged forward and wrapped her arms around Ghost's neck, sobbing into her shoulder. Ghost froze, just for a second, then slowly, carefully, wrapped her arms around the little girl and held her while she cried. Noah watched, something breaking open in his chest that he didn't have a name for. When Ivy finally pulled back, Ghost handed her a tissue from her jacket pocket. "Get some sleep," Ghost said softly. "Both of you." She stood and walked to the door, paused, looked back at Noah. "Tomorrow, we're going to sit down and figure out the long game. But tonight, you rest. Understood?" Noah nodded mutely. Ghost left. The door clicked shut. Ivy climbed back onto the couch, still clutching her book, eyes red and swollen. Noah sat beside her, exhausted beyond measure. Outside, the rain had finally stopped, and for the first time in months, Noah allowed himself to close his eyes. Not because he felt safe, but because for the first time in a long time, someone else was standing watch. Morning came cold and gray. Noah woke to the sound of engines, deep, rumbling Harley engines firing up one after another in the pre-dawn darkness. His eyes snapped open, heart already racing before his brain fully processed where he was. The concrete walls, the space heater, the smell of motor oil and old leather, the Iron Vulture's clubhouse. Ivy was still asleep beside him, curled into a tight ball under a blanket someone had draped over them during the night. Her face looked peaceful for the first time in months, and Noah didn't want to wake her. Didn't want to drag her back into the nightmare they were living. But outside, boots hit concrete in steady rhythm. Voices called to each other. Low, clipped, efficient. Something was happening. Noah eased himself off the couch, careful not to disturb Ivy, and moved to the doorway. The main garage was alive with activity. Bikers moved between motorcycles, checking tires, adjusting mirrors, strapping gear to saddlebags. Ghost stood near the front entrance, talking to Creed, both of them studying something on a tablet screen. Wraith was loading a shotgun. Noah's stomach dropped. "What's going on?" Every head in the garage turned toward him. Ghost looked up from the tablet, her expression unreadable. You're awake. Where are you going? We're not going anywhere. Ghost set the tablet down and walked toward him. But some of us are taking a ride. Why? Ghost stopped a few feet away, arms crossed. Because we need answers. About the man who came here last night. About what you and Ivy are running from. Her eyes locked onto his. And you're going to tell us everything. No more half-truths. Noah's jaw tightened. I already told you. You told us nothing. Wraith's voice cut through the garage like a blade. She slammed the shotgun slide forward with a metallic crack that made Noah flinch. You gave us a first name and a sob story. That's not enough. Wraith. Ghost's tone carried warning. Wraith ignored her. Kid shows up bleeding, brings a little girl who can't talk, and some psycho rolls up on our clubhouse screaming threats. You think we're just going to sit here and hope it blows over? She took a step toward Noah. We put ourselves between you and that asshole last night. That means we're in this now, whether we like it or not. Noah's hands curled into fists. I didn't ask you to. You knocked on our door because I had nowhere else to go. Exactly. Wraith's eyes were hard, so now you owe us the truth. The tension in the garage thickened until it felt like breathing through concrete. Noah could feel every pair of eyes on him, weighing him, judging him, deciding if he was worth the trouble. Ghost stepped between them. Wraith, stand down. Wraith held Noah's gaze for another 3 seconds, then turned and walked back to her bike without a word. Ghost exhaled slowly, then looked at Noah. She's not wrong. I know. Then talk. Noah's throat felt like sandpaper. What do you want to know? Start with his name. Noah's chest tightened. Saying the name out loud felt like summoning something dark and hungry. But Ghost wasn't asking anymore. She was demanding. Marcus Trent, Noah whispered. Ghost's expression didn't change, but something flickered in her eyes. Recognition, maybe. Or concern. He related to you? She asked. No, he's just the guy who owned the building after Mom left. He let us stay in the apartment. Noah's voice dropped. At first. And then? Noah looked away. Then he decided we owed him. The silence that followed was suffocating. Creed moved closer, his massive frame casting a shadow across the concrete floor. Owed him what? Noah didn't answer. Couldn't. The memory of locked doors and Ivy's muffled crying made his stomach twist. Ghost's voice softened. Just barely. Noah, we can't help you if we don't know what we're dealing with. You can't help me anyway, Noah said flatly. Nobody can. He owns half the buildings in this neighborhood. He knows people, cops, lawyers, the kind of people who make problems disappear. He finally met Ghost's eyes. You think scaring him off last night fixed anything? All you did was piss him off. Good, Creed said quietly. Noah blinked. What? Angry people make mistakes. Creed's voice was like gravel. And when he makes one, we'll be there. You don't understand. I understand plenty. Creed stepped closer. I understand that Marcus Trent is a coward who preys on kids because he knows they can't fight back. I understand that he showed up here drunk and stupid thinking he could intimidate us. And I understand, his voice dropped to something cold and lethal, that men like him don't stop until someone puts them down. The words hung in the air like a death sentence. Noah stared at Creed, trying to process what he was hearing. These people, these dangerous, scarred, violent people, were talking about going after Marcus Trent like it was a simple problem to solve, like violence was the answer. Maybe it was. Ghost pulled a pack of cigarettes from her vest, lit one, and took a long drag. Reaper and Wraith are going to take a ride. Check out the apartment building. See what we're dealing with. In the meantime, she looked at Noah. You and Ivy stay here. Don't go near the windows. Don't open the door for anyone except us. What if he comes back? Then he'll deal with the people we leave behind. Ghost glanced toward the back corner where Smoke sat cleaning a pistol with methodical precision. You'll be safe. Noah wanted to believe her, but safety was a word that had lost all meaning months ago. Why are you doing this? He asked again. What do you get out of it? Ghost studied him through a haze of cigarette smoke. You ever heard the phrase, blood in, blood out? Noah shook his head. It means once you're part of something, you can't just walk away. You're in it. permanently. She took another drag. Last night, when you knocked on our door, you became our responsibility. That's the rule. No exceptions. But I'm not part of your club. Doesn't matter. Ghost flicked ash onto the concrete. You're under our protection now. And in this world, that means something. Noah didn't know what to say. He'd spent so long learning not to trust anyone, not to rely on anyone, that the idea of protection felt foreign, dangerous, like it could be taken away at any moment. Behind him, a small voice broke the silence. Noah? He turned. Ivy stood in the doorway of the back room, clutching her book, hair tangled, eyes red from crying. She looked so small standing there, so breakable. Noah moved to her immediately, kneeling down. Hey, you okay? Ivy nodded, but her eyes were locked on the bikers moving through the garage. Are they leaving? Some of them, just for a little while. Why? Noah hesitated. They're helping us. Ivy's gaze shifted to Ghost, then back to Noah. Can we trust them? It was the question Noah had been asking himself all night, and he still didn't have an answer. But before he could respond, Ghost walked over and crouched beside them. She looked at Ivy with something that might have been gentleness, if gentleness could exist in someone so clearly carved from violence and old wounds. You like hot chocolate, sweetheart? Ghost asked. Ivy nodded slowly. Good, because we got a whole stash in the kitchen, and if you want, I can make you some pancakes too. They're not fancy, but they're hot. Ivy glanced at Noah, silently asking permission. Noah nodded. Okay, Ivy whispered. Ghost stood and held out her hand. After a moment's hesitation, Ivy took it. Noah watched them walk toward the kitchen area, his chest tight with an emotion he couldn't name. Relief, maybe, or fear that this moment of kindness was just the calm before something worse. Creed moved beside him. She'll be safe with Ghost. Will she? Creed's gray eyes met his. Ghost lost a daughter, long time ago. Different circumstances, but she knows what it's like to fail a kid. He paused. She won't let it happen again. The words hit Noah like a punch. He looked toward the kitchen where Ghost was helping Ivy onto a stool, already pulling ingredients from cabinets. What happened? Noah asked quietly. Creed's jaw tightened. Not my story to tell. He turned and walked back toward his motorcycle, leaving Noah standing alone in the middle of the garage. Around him, the Iron Vultures continued preparing for whatever was coming next. And Noah realized with sickening clarity that he'd dragged these people into a war they didn't ask for, Sopok. 20 minutes later, Wraith and Reaper rolled out on their bikes, leather cuts snapping in the cold wind, exhaust pipes roaring. The garage door slammed shut behind them, and the sudden silence felt oppressive. Noah sat at the kitchen table with Ivy, watching her eat pancakes drowning in syrup while Ghost leaned against the counter, cigarette still burning between her fingers. You sleep okay? Ghost asked Ivy. Ivy nodded, mouth full. Good. Ghost stubbed out the cigarette in an ashtray. After you're done eating, we're going to get you some clean clothes. Maybe a shower if you want. Ivy looked down at herself. Still wearing the same torn jeans and stained shirt she'd been in for days, she nodded again, quieter this time. Noah's chest tightened. He hadn't even thought about clean clothes, hadn't thought about anything beyond surviving the next hour. Ghost seemed to read his mind. You need anything, Noah? I'm fine. That's not what I asked. Noah met her gaze. What do you want me to say? The truth. Noah's jaw clenched. The truth is, I don't know what happens next. I don't know if Marcus is going to come back with cops or lawyers or just a gun. I don't know if you're really trying to help us or if this is some kind of... He stopped himself. Some kind of what? Ghost's voice was calm, too calm. Nothing. Say it. Yeah. Some kind of trap, Noah finished. I don't know you. I don't know what you want. And every time someone's tried to help us before, it's ended badly. Ghost studied him for a long moment. Then she pushed off of the counter and sat down across from him at the table. Her scarred hands folded in front of her, steady and still. You're smart to be suspicious, she said quietly. World teaches kids like you not to trust, and most of the time that's good instinct. She paused. But here's the thing, Noah. We're not most people. Then what are you? Ghost's eyes darkened. We're the people society threw away. Ex-military, ex-cons. People who didn't fit anywhere else. We found each other because nobody else wanted us. She leaned forward slightly. And when you've been thrown away, you learn to recognize others who've been discarded too. Noah swallowed hard. So that's what we are to you. Charity cases? No. Ghost's voice was firm. You're survivors, just like us. Ivy had stopped eating, her wide eyes moving between Noah and Ghost. Noah looked away, his throat burning. What if surviving isn't enough? It's always enough, Ghost said, until you decide it's not. Before Noah could respond, boots echoed in the hallway. Smoke appeared in the doorway, his scarred face grim. Ghost, we got a call. Ghost stood immediately. From who? CPS. Noah's heart stopped. What? Ghost's expression went cold. How'd they find out? Smoke shook his head. Don't know. But there's an investigator asking questions. Wants to come by. When? Today. The kitchen fell silent. Noah felt the walls closing in. CPS meant questions. Questions meant answers. Answers meant systems and procedures, and people in suits who would separate him from Ivy and put them both back into the machinery that had already failed them once. No. Noah stood abruptly, chair scraping against concrete. We're leaving. Right now. Ghost didn't move. Sit down. You don't understand. I understand perfectly. Ghost's voice was steel. You think CPS means foster homes and separation and losing your sister. And you're probably right. She paused. But running won't fix that. Then what will? Facing it. Ghost crossed her arms. If an investigator's coming, we deal with it. Together. Why would you risk that? If they find out you've been hiding us, we're not hiding you. Ghost cut him off. We're protecting you. There's a difference. Noah stared at her, trying to find the angle, the lie, the catch. But Ghost's face was unreadable. Ivy's small voice broke the tension. Are they going to take us away? The question hung in the air like smoke. Ghost knelt beside Ivy's chair, her expression softening. Not if I can help it, sweetheart. Promise? Ivy's voice cracked. Ghost hesitated. And in that hesitation, Noah saw the truth. She couldn't promise. None of them could. I'll try, Ghost said finally. That's all I can give you. Ivy's eyes filled with tears. She looked at Noah, silently begging him to fix this, to make it okay, to do what he'd always done. Protect her. But Noah didn't have any answers left. Keats. 2 hours later, a gray sedan pulled up outside the clubhouse. Noah watched from the back room window as a woman in a dark pantsuit stepped out, carrying a leather briefcase. She was mid-30s maybe, black, with her hair pulled back in a neat bun. She looked professional, competent, dangerous in a completely different way than the bikers. Her name was Lena Torres. Though Noah didn't know that yet, Ghost met her at the gate. They talked for several minutes, too far away for Noah to hear, before Ghost opened the gate and let her inside. Noah's pulse hammered in his ears. This was it. The moment everything fell apart. Ivy gripped his hand so tight it hurt. Noah? Stay quiet, he whispered. Let me do the talking. The door opened. Ghost entered first, followed by the woman in the pantsuit. Up close, Lena Torres had sharp eyes that missed nothing, taking in the concrete walls, the space heater, the two terrified kids standing in the corner like trapped animals. No avail, Sal, she asked. Noah nodded mutely. Lena set her briefcase on the table and opened it. My name is Lena Torres. I'm an investigator with Child Protective Services. I received a report this morning about 2 minors staying at this location without parental supervision. Her gaze shifted to Ivy. Is this your sister? Yes. What's her name? Ivy. Lena pulled out a notepad and pen. How old are you both? I'm 14. She's 8. Where are your parents? Noah's jaw tightened. Gone. Gone where? Us. I don't know. Lena's expression didn't change, but Noah saw the wheels turning behind her eyes. She'd heard this before. Knew what it meant. How long have you been living here, Yem? She asked. Since last night. And before that? Noah hesitated. Ghost stood near the door, arms crossed, watching but not interfering. We were staying at an apartment on Archer Street, Noah said quietly. With who? A man named Marcus Trent. Lena's pen stopped moving. He's not related to you? No. Then why were you living with him? Noah's throat closed up. He could feel Ivy trembling beside him, could hear her shallow breathing, could sense her terror rising like a wave about to break. He let us stay there after our mom left, Noah said finally. At first it was fine, but then... He stopped. Then what? What? Lena pressed. Noah looked at Ghost. She gave a small nod. Then he started demanding payment, Noah whispered. Lena's expression darkened. What kind of payment? Well, Noah couldn't say it, couldn't force the words past his lips, so Ivy said it for him. He hurt Noah, she whispered. Her voice was so small, so broken. He hit him. A lot. The room went completely silent. Lena set down her pen carefully, like it might explode. Did he hurt you too, Ivy? Ivy shook her head quickly. Noah wouldn't let him. Noah's vision blurred. He turned away, blinking hard, trying to keep control. Lena stood slowly. I need to see. See what? Noah's voice was hoarse. Your injuries. No. Noah, I said no. Ghost stepped forward. Kid, let her look. Why? So she can take pictures and file them away in some report nobody's going to read? Noah's hands were shaking now. I know how this works. You're going to put us in the system, separate us, throw us into foster homes with strangers who don't give a damn. That's not what I'm trying to do, Lena interrupted. Then what are you trying to do? Lena met his gaze steadily. I'm trying to figure out if you're safe. That's my job. We're safe here. Are you? Lena looked around the room, at the concrete walls, the bikers visible through the doorway, the weapons hanging on the walls. You're 14 years old, living in a motorcycle clubhouse with adults who have criminal records. They haven't hurt us, Noah said fiercely. Yet. Ghost's jaw tightened. Careful, Miss Torres. Lena turned to her. I'm stating facts. This is not an appropriate living situation for two minors. And what is? Ghost's voice was cold. A foster home where they get split up? A group facility where they become statistics? She took a step closer. You think we don't know what happens to kids in the system? You think we haven't lived it? Lena's expression didn't change, but something flickered in her eyes. Uncertainty, maybe. I understand you're trying to help, Lena said carefully. But you're not equipped to care for children. You don't have the resources, the training, the legal authority. We have something better. Big Ghost cut her off. We have loyalty. Loyalty doesn't pay for food or clothes or medical care. We'll figure it out. That's not how it works. Then how does it work? Ghost's voice rose slightly. You come in here, ask invasive questions, document their trauma, and then what? You take them away and hope for the best? Lena's jaw tightened. I do what the law requires. The law failed them, Ghost said flatly. We won't. The two women stared at each other, neither backing down. Noah felt like he was drowning. This was exactly what he'd feared. Two adults arguing over him and Ivy like they were property to be redistributed. Stop, he whispered. Nobody heard him. Stop, Noah shouted. Everyone turned. Noah's chest heaved. Just stop, please. He looked at Lena. You want to see? Fine, I'll show you. Before anyone could respond, Noah pulled off his jacket and then his shirt. The bruises were everywhere. Old ones fading to yellow-green, new ones still dark purple. Some looked like handprints. Others looked like boot marks. His ribs were a canvas of violence. Lena's face went pale. Ivy made a small, broken sound and turned away. Noah stood there, exposed, humiliated, letting this stranger catalog every mark of his suffering. You want to know what Marcus Trent did? Noah's voice shook. There it is. That's payment. That's what happens when you don't have anywhere else to go. Lena stared at him, her professional mask cracking. Noah, save it. Noah pulled his shirt back on. I already know what you're going to say, that you're sorry. That you'll do everything you can. That the system will protect us. His laugh was bitter. The system didn't protect us before. What makes you think it'll start now? Lena opened her mouth, closed it. For the first time since entering the room, she looked uncertain. Ghost stepped between them. Miss Torres, I think you've seen enough. Lena collected herself, picking up her notepad with hands that trembled slightly. I have to file a report. I know. And I have to recommend removal. I know that too. Then you know I'll be back, with a court order if necessary. Ghost's eyes were hard. We'll be here. Lena looked at Noah one last time, something like regret crossing her face. Then she turned and left. The door clicked shut behind her. Noah sank onto the couch, suddenly exhausted beyond measure. Ivy crawled into his lap immediately, wrapping her arms around his neck. Ghost lit a cigarette, hand steady despite everything. That could have gone better. Could have gone worse, Smoke said from the doorway. How? Noah asked hollowly. She could have brought the cops. The words hung in the air. Ghost took a long drag, exhaled smoke toward the ceiling. We need a lawyer. We can't afford a lawyer, Noah said. I know one who owes me a favor. Ghost pulled out her phone. And if that doesn't work, we'll find another way. What other way? Ghost met his eyes. Whatever it takes. Before Noah could respond, engines roared outside. Multiple bikes returning. Wraith and Reaper were back. What? The garage filled with tension as Wraith and Reaper parked their bikes and pulled off their helmets. Both looked grim. Ghost walked out to meet them. What'd you find? Wraith wiped rain from her face. Bad news. Talk. The apartment building is condemned. Has been for 6 months. Marcus Trent's been keeping squatters there, collecting rent off the books. Wraith's voice was hard. CPS has been called to that address 4 times in the last year. Nothing ever came of it. Ghost's jaw tightened. Why not? Because Marcus Trent has friends. Real friends. Cops on his payroll. City officials who look the other way. Reaper stepped forward. We talked to some of the neighbors. They're all terrified of him. Nobody's willing to testify. So he's untouchable, Ghost said flatly. On paper. Ghost's eyes narrowed. And off paper? Reaper's expression darkened. He's got enemies. People he screwed over. Debts he hasn't paid. If we dig deep enough, we might find leverage. How long will that take? Days, maybe weeks. We don't have weeks, Ghost said. CPS is already involved. If they come back with a court order, then we don't let them take the kids, Wraith interrupted. Everyone went still. Ghost looked at her. You know what you're suggesting? Well, I know exactly what I'm suggesting. Wraith's voice was cold. We've crossed lines before. This is just another one. This is different. This is 2 kids who'll get eaten alive by the system if we don't do something. Wraith stepped closer. You said it yourself, Ghost. Once they're under our protection, that's it. No exceptions. Ghost stared at her, something unreadable crossing her face. Noah watched from his doorway, his stomach twisting. These people were talking about going to war, for him, for Ivy, and he didn't know if that terrified him or gave him hope. Creed moved beside Ghost. What do you want to do? Ghost was silent for a long time. Then she turned and looked directly at Noah. That's not my call, she said quietly. It's his. Every eye in the garage turned toward Noah. He felt the weight of their attention like a physical thing, crushing, suffocating. What are you asking me? Noah's voice came out hoarse. I'm asking if you want us to fight, Ghost said. Really fight. Not just scare off Marcus Trent. Not just argue with CPS. I mean, burn it all down if that's what it takes to keep you and Ivy safe. Noah's heart hammered against his ribs. And if I say yes? Then there's no going back, for any of us. The garage fell silent except for the distant rumble of thunder. Noah looked at Ivy, still clutching her book, still so small and fragile and utterly dependent on him to make the right choice. But he didn't know what the right choice was anymore. All he knew was that he was tired. Tired of running. Tired of being afraid. Tired of watching his sister suffer because he couldn't protect her. Maybe it was time to stop running. Maybe it was time to let someone else stand watch. Noah met Ghost's eyes. Yes. The word hung in the air like a death sentence. Ghost nodded slowly. Then we do this right. No half measures. No mistakes. She looked around the garage at her club. Wraith Reaper. I want eyes on Marcus Trent 24/7. Where he goes, who he talks to, what he eats for breakfast. I want to know everything. Wraith grinned, sharp and dangerous. Copy. Creed, contact the lawyer, see what legal options we have. If CPS comes back, I want to be ready. Creed nodded. Smoke, double the security. I want cameras on every entrance, motion sensors, tripwires if you have to. If anyone comes near this clubhouse, I want to know about it before they get within 50 feet. Smoke cracked his knuckles. Done. Ghost turned back to Noah. And you and Ivy stay inside, no exceptions, no wandering off. No trying to be a hero. Her voice softened slightly. You're not alone anymore, Noah. You don't have to carry this by yourself. Noah's throat tightened. He nodded mutely. Ghost clapped her hands once. Move. We got work to do. The garage exploded into motion. Bikers grabbing gear, making calls, checking weapons. Noah stood in the center of it all, overwhelmed by the sudden realization that he'd just made a choice that couldn't be unmade. He'd chosen war, and there was no going back. Night fell fast and cold. Noah sat in the back room with Ivy, trying to keep her distracted with stories and games, but his mind kept wandering to the activity in the main garage. Phones ringing, low, urgent conversations. The metallic click of guns being loaded and checked. Around 8 p.m. Ghost appeared in the doorway. You two eaten? Noah nodded. Good. She hesitated. Lena Torres called. She's filing paperwork tomorrow morning. Judge will review it by end of day. Noah's stomach dropped. How long do we have? Maybe 48 hours before they come back with a court order. And then? And then we see if the lawyer can buy us more time. Ghost's eyes were hard. But we're not banking on that. What's plan B? Ghost didn't answer right away. When she did, her voice was quiet. Plan B is we disappear you. Noah's breath caught. What does that mean? Means we move you somewhere safe. Somewhere CPS can't find you. At least until we figure out how to neutralize Marcus Trent. That's kidnapping. Technically, yes. You'd go to prison. Ghost shrugged. Wouldn't be the first time. The casual way she said it made Noah's chest tighten. Why would you risk that? Ghost moved into the room and sat down across from him. In the dim light, the scars on her face seemed deeper, older. I told you I lost a daughter, she said quietly. Noah nodded. Her name was Emma. She was 9. Ghost's voice was steady but hollow. Her father, my ex, was a violent drunk. I tried to leave him twice. Both times the system sent us back. Said there wasn't enough evidence. Said I was overreacting. She paused. Third time I tried to leave, he killed her. Noah felt like he'd been punched in the chest. Beside him, Ivy's hand found his. I was in prison when it happened, Ghost continued. Assault charges. I'd fought back one too many times. By the time I got out, Emma was already buried and her father had disappeared. Her jaw tightened. System failed her, just like it failed you. I'm sorry, Noah whispered. Don't be sorry. Be smart. Ghost leaned forward. The world is full of people who'll tell you to trust the system, follow the rules, do the right thing. And maybe that works for some people. But for kids like you? She shook her head. Sometimes the only way to survive is to break every rule and hope you live long enough to make it matter. Noah didn't know what to say. Ghost stood. Get some sleep. Tomorrow's going to be a long day. She left, closing the door behind her. Noah sat in the silence, processing everything he'd just heard. Ghost wasn't trying to save him and Ivy because she was a good person. She was trying to save them because she couldn't save her own daughter, and that made her more dangerous than anyone Noah had ever met. Midnight came. Noah lay on the couch beside Ivy, staring at the ceiling, unable to sleep. Outside, he could hear the low rumble of motorcycles idling, bikers taking shifts on watch. Somewhere in the garage, Wraith and Reaper were still working, tracking Marcus Trent's movements, building a case, looking for weakness. Noah's phone buzzed. He pulled it from his pocket. A burner phone he'd bought months ago with stolen cash. The screen showed a single text from an unknown number. "I know where you are." Noah's blood turned to ice. Another text arrived. "You think those bikers can protect you?" "I own this city." Noah's hands trembled. He looked at Ivy, still asleep, still trusting him to keep her safe. Another text. "You have 24 hours. Bring her to me, or I burn that clubhouse to the ground." Noah stood abruptly, phone clutched in his shaking hand. His breath came in short, panicked bursts. Marcus Trent knew where they were, and he was coming. Noah moved to the door, cracked it open, looked out into the garage. Ghost was sitting at the workbench, reviewing maps with Creed. Wraith cleaned weapons in the corner. Smoke stood near the entrance, watching the security monitors. They looked so confident, so prepared. But they didn't know what Marcus was capable of. And Noah realized with sickening clarity that by asking for their help, he'd painted a target on all of them. He pulled out his phone and stared at Marcus's messages. Then he made a choice. He deleted the texts. He couldn't tell Ghost, couldn't tell anyone, because if he did, they'd try to fight. And fighting Marcus Trent meant people would die. So Noah stood alone in the darkness, holding a secret that could destroy everyone who'd tried to help him. And he knew, with absolute certainty, that whatever happened next would be his fault. The clock was ticking, and Noah Vale had just become the only thing standing between the Iron Vultures and total annihilation. But yet, end of part 2. But as dawn approached and Marcus Trent's deadline drew closer, Noah faced an impossible choice. Sacrifice himself to save the people who'd protected him, or trust them to fight a war they couldn't possibly win. Dawn came with no mercy. Noah hadn't slept. He'd spent the entire night sitting on the cold concrete floor with his back against the wall, phone clutched in his sweating palm, watching the hours tick down. 24 hours. That's what Marcus had given him. 24 hours to bring Ivy back or watch the clubhouse burn. The phone screen glowed in the darkness. 6:47 a.m. 17 hours left. Ivy was still asleep on the couch, her breathing soft and steady. The only peaceful thing in Noah's entire world. He watched her chest rise and fall, memorizing the sight, because some part of him knew this might be one of the last mornings she'd wake up safe. The door opened without warning. Ghost stepped inside, coffee mug in hand, leather vest already on despite the early hour. She looked at Noah sitting on the floor and stopped. "You didn't sleep," she said. Not a question. Noah shook his head. Ghost moved closer, her boots silent on concrete despite their weight. She crouched beside him, studying his face in the dim light from the space heater. "What happened?" Her voice was quiet but sharp, the tone of someone who'd interrogated enough people to know when they were hiding something. "Nothing." "Try again." Noah's jaw tightened. "I'm fine." "Yo." Ghost stared at him for 3 long seconds, then stood. "Suit yourself. But lying to me doesn't help either of us." She walked to the door, paused. "Breakfast in 10 minutes. Don't make me come get you." She left. Noah exhaled shakily and looked at his phone again. The deleted messages haunted him. He could still see them burned into his retinas. Marcus's threats, his promises of violence, his countdown to destruction. Noah had deleted them because he thought he was protecting everyone. But now, sitting alone in the cold morning light, he realized he'd made a terrible mistake. Because keeping secrets in a place like this was a death sentence. The garage was already alive with activity when Noah finally emerged with Ivy. Bikers moved between motorcycles and workbenches, the air thick with cigarette smoke and the smell of motor oil. Someone had rigged up a portable radio, classic rock playing low in the background. A song about highways and freedom that felt like a cruel joke. Ghost stood near the front entrance talking to a man Noah hadn't seen before. He was older, mid-60s maybe, wearing an expensive suit that looked completely out of place in the grease-stained clubhouse. Silver hair, wire-rimmed glasses, the kind of face that belonged in a courtroom. "That's the lawyer," Wraith said from behind Noah. Noah turned. Wraith stood with her arms crossed, eyes on the conversation happening across the garage. "His name's Edward Carver," Wraith continued. "Retired prosecutor. Defended half the club at one point or another." She glanced at Noah. "If anyone can keep CPS from taking you, it's him." Noah watched Ghost and Carver talk, their body language tense, urgent. After several minutes, Carver shook his head firmly. Ghost's jaw tightened. "That doesn't look good." Noah said quietly. It's not. Wraith pulled out a cigarette and lit it. Carver says without proof that Marcus Trent abused you, CPS has grounds to remove you from an unsafe environment. And since you refused to let Lena Torres photograph your injuries yesterday, she took a drag. We don't have proof. Noah's stomach dropped. What about witness statements? Neighbors who saw what happened. Marcus owns those neighbors. They're too scared to talk. Wraith exhaled smoke. And even if they weren't, their word against his? In a neighborhood like that? She shook her head. System's rigged, kid. Always has been. Across the garage, Carver closed his briefcase and left. Ghost stood alone for a moment, hands clenched into fists at her sides, then turned and walked toward the back offices. Wraith watched her go. She's taking this hard. Why? Because she made you a promise. Wraith looked at Noah, and Ghost doesn't break promises, ever. Before Noah could respond, Reaper emerged from the side hallway carrying a laptop. He set it on a nearby workbench and called out, Ghost, you need to see this. Ghost reappeared immediately. What is it? Security footage from last night, outside Marcus Trent's building. Reaper hit a key and the laptop screen flickered to life. Noah moved closer without thinking. Ivy stayed pressed against his side. The footage was grainy, black and white, shot from a traffic camera across the street. It showed the front entrance of a rundown apartment building. Timestamp, 11:43 p.m. last night. A man appeared on screen. Noah's breath caught. Marcus Trent. He was talking to someone off camera, gesturing angrily, his face twisted with rage, even through the pixelated footage. Who's he talking to? Ghost asked. Reaper hit another key. The camera angle shifted slightly, zooming in on the second person. Noah's world stopped. The person talking to Marcus Trent was wearing a dark pantsuit, hair pulled back, professional, familiar. It was Lena Torres, the CPS investigator. Noah felt the floor drop out from under him. No. Ghost's head snapped toward him. You know her? That's the investigator who came here yesterday. Noah's voice came out hollow. Lena Torres. The garage went completely silent. On screen, Lena handed Marcus something. Papers, maybe, or a folder. Marcus looked at them, nodded, then shook her hand. Wraith leaned closer to the screen. What the fuck? Ghost's expression had gone cold. Dangerous. Keep playing. Reaper advanced the footage. Timestamp, 11:51 p.m. Marcus got into an SUV. Lena got into a different vehicle. The same gray sedan she'd driven to the clubhouse. Both cars drove off in opposite directions. The footage ended. The silence that followed was suffocating. Ghost turned to Noah slowly. She came here yesterday asking questions about you and Ivy. Noah nodded numbly. And then 8 hours later, she's meeting with Marcus Trent in the middle of the night. Ghost's voice was steel. That's not protocol. That's collusion. Wraith swore under her breath. She's working with him. Or, we don't know that for sure, Creed said from across the garage. The hell we don't. Wraith gestured at the laptop. Why else would a CPS investigator meet with an alleged abuser off the record? At midnight? Maybe she was investigating him, Smoke suggested. Or maybe she's on his payroll. Reaper crossed his arms. Marcus Trent has cops and city officials in his pocket. Why not a social worker? Ghost stared at the frozen image on the laptop screen. If Torres is compromised, then everything she reported yesterday is suspect. Which means CPS might not even know the real story, Creed said. Or they know exactly the real story, Wraith countered. And they're helping Marcus get these kids back. Noah felt like he was drowning. The one person who was supposed to protect them, who was supposed to be on their side, had been working with Marcus all along. Lena Torres had looked at his bruises, had listened to Ivy's broken voice, had seen everything. And then she'd gone straight to Marcus. Ivy tugged on Noah's sleeve. What does it mean? Noah couldn't answer. His throat had closed up completely. Ghost moved to the center of the garage and raised her voice. Everyone listen up. The conversation stopped immediately. We have a compromised investigator, which means anything we tell CPS goes straight back to Marcus Trent. So what do we do? Someone asked. We assume the worst. Ghost's eyes swept across the room. Assume Torres is feeding Marcus information. Assume he knows everything we've told her about the abuse, about Noah and Ivy being here, about our involvement. She paused. Assume he's planning something. Like what? Wraith asked. Ghost pulled out her phone and dialed. That's what we're about to find out. She put the phone on speaker. It rang twice before a male voice answered. Yeah? Danny, it's Ghost. Ghost. The voice sounded cautious. It's been a while. I need information. Marcus Trent. What's he into? A pause. Why are you asking about Trent? Because he's threatening 2 kids under my protection. Another pause, longer this time. Ghost, you don't want to go near that guy. Too late. I'm already near him. Now tell me what I'm dealing with. Danny exhaled loudly on the other end. Marcus Trent isn't just a slumlord. He's connected, real connected. Russian mob, cartel money, human trafficking networks. He's got his hands in everything dirty on the east side. Noah's vision blurred. Human trafficking. The words echoed in his skull like gunshots. Ghost's expression didn't change, but her knuckles went white around the phone. How deep does it go? Deep enough that the FBI's had an open investigation on him for 3 years and still can't make anything stick. He's got judges, cops, city officials, all of them on his payroll or too scared to move against him. Danny's voice dropped. If he's threatening you, Ghost, you need to walk away. Right now. Not an option. Then you're going to die. Danny said it flatly. And so is everyone with you. Ghost ended the call. The garage was silent except for the hum of the space heater and the distant sound of rain starting to fall outside. Noah felt bile rising in his throat. He'd known Marcus was dangerous. But this was something else entirely. Ivy looked up at him with terrified eyes. Noah! He couldn't speak, couldn't move. Ghost turned to him. Did you know about this? Noah shook his head violently. No, I swear, I just thought he was... His voice cracked. I thought he was just some asshole landlord. Ghost studied him, searching for the lie. She must have found truth because she nodded once. Okay. Okay? Wraith's voice was sharp. That's it? We just found out we're going up against the Russian mob and the cartel, and you're saying okay? What do you want me to say? Ghost's voice was hard. That we're screwed? That we should hand these kids over and save ourselves? She stepped closer to Wraith. Is that what you want? Wraith held her ground. I want to know what the plan is. The plan is we fight. Against who? Marcus Trent? Or the entire criminal network backing him? Both if we have to. That's suicide. Then it's suicide. Ghost's eyes were cold. But I'm not handing these kids over to be trafficked. Ever. Shem. The word hung in the air like poison. Trafficked. Noah's legs gave out. He sank to his knees on the concrete floor, hands pressed against his head, trying to breathe through the panic crushing his chest. Marcus hadn't wanted them for rent money. He'd wanted them for something far worse, and Noah had almost delivered Ivy straight back into his hands. Ivy knelt beside him, crying. Noah? Noah, what's wrong? He couldn't answer, couldn't think. The room was spinning. He couldn't answer. Ghost's voice cut through the chaos. Get him water, now! Someone pressed a cold bottle into Noah's shaking hands. He drank without tasting, water spilling down his chin. Ghost crouched in front of him. Noah, look at me. He forced his eyes up. Did Marcus ever... Ghost stopped, jaw tight. Did he ever try to take Ivy anywhere, introduce her to anyone? Noah's stomach lurched. There were people, men who came to the apartment sometimes. They'd look at her. His voice was barely a whisper. I thought they were just friends of his. But the way they looked at her... He couldn't finish. Ghost's expression went from cold to absolutely murderous. She stood slowly, turned to face the club. Change of plans. We're not waiting for Marcus to make a move. We're going after him. Ghost, Creed started. No. Ghost cut him off. We end this tonight. That's insane, Wraith said. We don't have the firepower to go up against... Then we get it. Ghost's voice was steel. Call every favor we have, every contact, every ally who owes us. I don't care what it takes. She looked around the room. We're burning Marcus Trent's world to the ground. and anyone who stands with him burns too. The bikers stared at her. Some looked uncertain, others looked grim, but none of them argued. Creed stepped forward. "You're sure about this, E?" "That's," Ghost met his eyes. "I've never been more sure of anything." Creed nodded once. "Then we ride at midnight." The garage exploded into motion. Bikers grabbing phones, checking weapons, making calls to God knows who. The quiet motorcycle clubhouse had transformed into something else entirely. A war room. Noah watched it all from the floor, still shaking, still trying to process what he'd just learned. Marcus Trent wasn't just a monster. He was the kind of monster that sold children. And the Iron Vultures were about to declare war on him. Because of Noah. Because he'd knocked on their door. The morning stretched into afternoon. Noah and Ivy were moved to a different room. Deeper in the clubhouse. No windows. Steel-reinforced door. A safe room, Ghost called it. A tomb, Noah thought. Ivy sat on the single cot, clutching her book, watching Noah pace back and forth like a caged animal. "Are we going to be okay?" she whispered. Noah stopped pacing, looked at her, saw the fear in her eyes. The same fear he'd seen every day for months. The fear that had become her normal. "I don't know," he said honestly. "Noah, I don't know, Ivy." His voice cracked. "I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if these people can actually protect us. I don't know if we made the right choice coming here." He sank down onto the floor. "I don't know anything anymore." Ivy climbed off the cot and sat beside him. Her small hand found his. "I'm scared," she whispered. "Me too." They sat in silence for a long time. Then Ivy said something that broke Noah completely. "If something happens to you, I don't want to be here anymore." Noah's chest tightened. "Don't say that." "I mean it." Her voice was small but firm. "You're all I have. If you're gone, I don't want to—" "Stop." Noah pulled her into a fierce hug. "Nothing's going to happen to me. I promise." "You can't promise that." She was right. He couldn't. But he said it anyway. Hours passed. Noah sat with his back against the wall, Ivy asleep in his lap when his phone buzzed. He pulled it from his pocket. Unknown number. His blood turned to ice. He opened the message. "Time's almost up." Noah's hands shook. "Marcus." It had to be. Another message arrived. "You think you're safe in there? I own the cops. I own the judges. I own this whole fucking city." Noah stared at the screen, heart hammering. Another message. "And those bikers? They're dead. Every single one of them." Noah's vision blurred. He looked at Ivy, still sleeping peacefully, completely unaware of the countdown ticking in his pocket. Another message. "Last chance. Bring her to the corner of Archer and 5th. Alone." Midnight. Noah's throat closed up. "Or I kill everyone in that clubhouse. Starting with the woman who thinks she can save you." The phone slipped from Noah's trembling fingers and clattered on the concrete. He sat there staring at nothing, his mind racing through impossible calculations. If he stayed, Marcus would come. People would die. Ghost, Creed, Wraith, all of them. Because of him. If he left, if he took Ivy and ran, Marcus would find them eventually. And everything the Iron Vultures had done would be for nothing. But if he went alone, Noah's breath caught. If he went alone, Marcus would have what he wanted. A target. Revenge. Proof that Noah was still just a scared kid who couldn't protect anyone. But Ivy would be safe. The Iron Vultures would be safe. And Noah would be dead. His hands were shaking so badly he could barely function. He looked at Ivy sleeping against him, her face peaceful, trusting him to make the right choice. He'd been making the wrong choices her entire life. Maybe it was time to make one right one. Noah carefully eased Ivy off his lap and onto the cot. She stirred but didn't wake. He covered her with a blanket, then bent down and kissed her forehead. "I'm sorry," he whispered. Then he picked up his phone, typed out a single message, and hit send. "I'll be there. Alone." He deleted the conversation, stood, and walked to the door. His hand was on the handle when a voice spoke from behind him. "Where do you think you're going?" Noah spun around. Ghost stood in the doorway, arms crossed, eyes hard. Noah's voice died in his throat. Ghost stepped into the room and closed the door behind her. You got a message from Marcus. It wasn't a question. Noah's jaw clenched. How did you? Because I know that look. Ghost moved closer. That's the look of someone about to do something stupid and heroic. She stopped 3 feet away. Let me see your phone. No. Noah. I said no. His voice came out harder than he intended. Ghost stared at him. What did he threaten? Noah didn't answer. What did Marcus threaten? Ghost's voice dropped to something cold and dangerous. Noah's hands curled into fists. It doesn't matter. It matters to me. Why? Noah's voice cracked. Why do you care? You don't know me. You don't owe me anything. Just let me go and what? You'll sacrifice yourself? Trade your life for Ivy's? Ghost shook her head. That's not how this works. Then how does it work? Noah shouted. Ivy stirred on the cot, but didn't wake. Noah lowered his voice. How does any of this work? You're going to war with the Russian mob over 2 kids you met yesterday. People are going to die. And for what? For you, Ghost said simply. The words hit Noah like a punch. You don't get it, he whispered. Marcus said he'd kill everyone here. Everyone. If I don't show up alone at midnight. His voice broke. I can't let that happen. Ghost's expression didn't change. So you were just going to walk out that door and get yourself killed if it keeps Ivy safe. If it keeps you safe. Noah's eyes burned. Then yes. Ghost was silent for a long moment. Then she did something Noah didn't expect. She laughed. It was a short, bitter sound, like broken glass scraping concrete. You really think Marcus is going to let anyone walk away from this? Ghost stepped closer. You think if you show up alone, he'll just let Ivy and the rest of us live happily ever after? Noah's stomach twisted. He said, he lied. Ghost's voice was hard. Men like Marcus Trent don't make deals. They make examples. If you show up, he kills you. Then he comes here anyway and finishes the job. She paused. You're not saving anyone by dying, Noah. You're just making it easier for him. Noah felt his entire plan crumbling. Then what am I supposed to do? You're supposed to trust us. Ghost's eyes locked onto his. We've been doing this a long time. We know how to fight. We know how to survive. And we sure as hell know how to protect our own. I'm not your own. Yes, Ghost said firmly. You are. The certainty in her voice made Noah's chest tighten. Ghost pulled out her phone and showed him the screen. Wraith's been tracking Marcus all day. He's holed up in a warehouse on the east side. Guards, security, the whole setup. She pocketed the phone. We hit him tonight. Before midnight. Before he expects it. That's suicide, Noah whispered. Maybe. Ghost's smile was cold, but at least it's suicide on our terms. Before Noah could respond, boots echoed in the hallway. Creed appeared in the doorway. Ghost, we got a problem. Oh! Bukosa! Ghost turned. What kind of problem? Multiple vehicles just pulled up outside. SUVs, tinted windows. Creed's voice was tight, and Lena Torres is with them. Noah's blood turned to ice. Ghost swore under her breath. How many? 6 vehicles, maybe 20 people total. Are they armed? Can't tell yet, but I'm guessing yes. Ghost looked at Noah. Stay here. Don't open this door for anyone except me or Creed. Understood? Noah nodded mutely. Ghost and Creed left, the door slamming shut behind them. Noah stood frozen in the middle of the room, heart hammering, while outside, the sounds of engines and slamming car doors echoed through the garage. Marcus had sent his people, and they'd brought CPS as cover. Noah moved to the cot and gently shook Ivy awake. Ivy, get up. She blinked sleepily. What's wrong? We need to be ready to move. Fast. Noah, you're scaring me. I know. I'm sorry. He pulled her to her feet. But I need you to stay close to me, no matter what happens. Okay? Ivy's eyes filled with tears, but she nodded. Outside, voices rose. Sharp, official, demanding. Then Ghost's voice cut through the noise like a blade. You're not coming in here. Noah pressed his ear against the door, trying to hear. We have a court order, Lena Torres said. Her voice was calm, professional, completely devoid of the empathy she'd shown yesterday. I don't care if you have a presidential decree, Ghost shot back. Those kids are under our protection. They're minors in an unsafe environment. Unsafe? Ghost's laugh was harsh. You want to talk about unsafe? Let's talk about you meeting with Marcus Trent at midnight. Let's talk about collusion. A pause. Then, I don't know what you're talking about. We have footage. Another pause. Longer this time. It doesn't matter, Lena said finally. The court order stands. We're taking Noah and Ivy Vale into protective custody. Now. Over my dead body. That can be arranged. The temperature in the garage seemed to drop 10 degrees. Noah heard the unmistakable sound of safeties being clicked off. Multiple weapons, all at once. His heart stopped. This was it, the point of no return. Either the Iron Vultures let CPS take them, or people started dying. Noah looked at Ivy, saw the terror in her eyes, and made a choice. He opened the door. Noah, no! Ivy grabbed his arm, but he gently pulled free. Stay here, he told her, no matter what. Then he stepped into the garage, every eye turned toward him. The scene was worse than he'd imagined. The main garage door was open. Outside, 6 black SUVs formed a semicircle, headlights blazing, surrounding the clubhouse like predators cornering prey. Men in tactical gear stood behind open doors, rifles visible. And at the center of it all stood Lena Torres with her arms crossed, flanked by 2 uniformed police officers. The Iron Vultures had formed a defensive line inside the garage. Ghost, Creed, Wraith, Reaper, Smoke, and a dozen others, all armed, all ready. One spark and this place would erupt into a bloodbath. Noah stepped forward. I'll go. Noah, Ghost started. I'll go, Noah repeated. His voice was shaking but clear. Just don't hurt them, please. Lena's expression was unreadable. Smart kid. Yes. Shut up. Noah's voice was cold. I know what you are. I know you're working with Marcus. Ugh. Something flickered across Lena's face. Surprise, maybe? Or respect? Doesn't matter what you know, she said. Matters what I can prove. And right now, all I can prove is that you're a minor living in an illegal environment. She gestured toward one of the SUVs. Let's go. Noah took a step forward. Ghost grabbed his arm. Don't. I have to. Noah whispered. If I don't, they'll kill you. If you do, Marcus kills you. I know. Ghost's jaw tightened. For the first time since Noah had met her, he saw something like desperation in her eyes. There's another way, she said quietly. There isn't. Noah... An engine roared to life behind the line of SUVs. Everyone turned. A single motorcycle appeared from the shadows. Massive, black, chrome, gleaming under the headlights. The rider wore full leather and a dark helmet. The bike stopped 10 feet from Lena Torres. The rider cut the engine. Silence fell. Then the rider pulled off the helmet. Noah's world stopped. It was a woman. Mid-40s, sharp features, cold eyes, and a face Noah recognized from photographs his mother had kept hidden in a shoebox under her bed. His mother's sister. His aunt, who was supposed to be dead. The woman looked at Lena Torres. CPS doesn't have jurisdiction here. Lena's expression went from confident to uncertain in seconds. Who the hell are you? FBI. The woman pulled out a badge and held it up. Special Agent Sarah Vale, and you're interfering with a federal investigation. The words hung in the air like a bomb. Noah couldn't breathe, couldn't think. Sarah Vale, his mother's sister, the one who disappeared before he was born. She was FBI. And she'd just crashed the entire operation. Lena's face went pale. I wasn't informed of any federal investigation. Say, button disit so. That's because you're being investigated, Sarah said coldly. She gestured to the men in tactical gear. Stand down, all of you. This location is under federal protection. For 3 seconds, nobody moved. Then Lena Torres turned and walked back to her vehicle. The police officers followed. One by one, the SUVs backed away. Within minutes, they were gone. The garage was silent, except for the sound of rain and distant thunder. Sarah Vale turned to Noah. Hello, Noah, she said quietly. We need to talk. Marseille. End of part 3. But as Noah stared at the woman who was supposed to be dead, the woman who'd just saved them from CPS, and the woman whose arrival meant everything he thought he knew about his past was a lie, he realized the real war hadn't even started yet, and the enemy might not be who he thought it was. The garage felt like a pressure cooker about to explode. Noah stood frozen in the center of the concrete floor, staring at the woman who'd just claimed to be his aunt, a woman who was supposed to be dead, a woman whose face he'd only seen in faded photographs hidden at the bottom of his mother's belongings. Sarah Vale, FBI, standing here, alive, real. Ghost moved first, stepping between Noah and Sarah with one hand resting casually on the pistol at her hip. I don't care what badge you're carrying. You don't just walk into my clubhouse and start making claims. Sarah's expression didn't change. She tucked her badge back into her jacket with the kind of practiced ease that came from years of flashing it. I'm not here to make claims. I'm here to extract 2 minors from a situation that's about to get a lot of people killed. Oh, what some good. Funny timing, Wraith said from the side, rifle still in her hands. You show up right after CPS tries to take them. That's one hell of a coincidence. It's not a coincidence. Sarah's eyes swept across the garage, cataloging faces, weapons, exits. I've been tracking Marcus Trent for 18 months. The moment CPS filed paperwork on Noah and Ivy Vale, it triggered alerts in my investigation. Ghost's jaw tightened. So you've known about them this whole time? I knew they existed. I didn't know where they were. Sarah's gaze finally settled on Noah. Not until yesterday when Lena Torres filed her report. Noah found his voice. It came out hoarse, broken. You're supposed to be dead. I know what your mother told you. She showed me a death certificate. Forged. Sarah took a step closer. Ghost tensed but didn't intervene. I went into deep cover 6 years ago. Witness protection, new identity, the whole package. It was the only way to get close to the networks trafficking kids through the East Coast. Noah's head was spinning. Mom said you died in a car accident. Your mother lied to protect you. Sarah's voice softened, just barely. If anyone knew I was alive, if anyone connected you and Ivy to me, you'd become targets. Leverage. She paused. That's exactly what happened anyway. The words hit Noah like a freight train. What are you talking about? Sarah pulled out a tablet from inside her jacket and tapped the screen. Your mother didn't just leave 8 months ago, Noah. She was taken. The garage went completely silent. Noah couldn't breathe, couldn't think. No, she left. She was investigating Marcus Trent on her own, trying to gather evidence to get you and Ivy out safely. Sarah turned the tablet around. The screen showed a photograph. Grainy, surveillance style. A woman being forced into the back of a van. Her face was visible for just a moment. Noah's mother. That was taken 7 months ago outside a grocery store in Queens, Sarah said quietly. She'd been asking the wrong questions to the wrong people. Marcus found out she was connected to me through old family records. He took her as insurance. Noah's legs gave out. He hit the concrete hard, knees cracking against the floor. Distantly, he felt Ivy run from the back room and wrap her arms around him, crying, but he couldn't process it. Couldn't process anything except the image burned into his brain. His mother. Taken. Not gone by choice. Imprisoned somewhere for 7 months. Because of him. Ghost crouched beside Noah. Where is she now? I don't know. Sarah's voice was tight with frustration. Marcus moves his assets constantly. Different locations, different facilities. We've raided 3 sites in the last year and came up empty every time. She looked at Noah. But I know she's alive. And I know Marcus is using her as bait. Bait for what? Wraith asked. For me? For you? Sarah gestured around the garage. For anyone stupid enough to come after him. Creed stepped forward, arms crossed. So what's your play, Agent Vale? My play was to let CPS take Noah and Ivy into federal custody, keep them safe while my team dismantled Marcus's operation from the inside. Sarah's jaw tightened. But you all complicated that. We saved their lives, Ghost said flatly. You painted targets on their backs. Sarah's voice was hard. The moment Noah showed up here, the moment you stood between him and Marcus, you guaranteed that this ends in blood. She looked at Ghost. Marcus doesn't negotiate. He doesn't retreat. He eliminates threats. All of them. Then he can try. Ghost stood slowly, shoulders squared. But he's going to find out real fast that we don't go down easy. Sarah studied her for a long moment. You're ex-military. Marines, if I had to guess. Probably saw combat overseas, came home broken, found a family here. She gestured at the other bikers. Most of your club has similar stories. Trauma, PTSD, records long enough to keep you from ever living normal lives. Her voice softened slightly. You're survivors. I respect that. But survivors aren't soldiers, and this isn't a war you can win. Watch us, Wraith said coldly. Sarah turned to her. Marcus Trent has 30 armed men, connections to 3 different criminal organizations, and enough money to buy his way out of anything. You have... She looked around. What? 20 bikers with illegal weapons and good intentions? 23, Smoke corrected from the back. And we've survived worse. Us. Not like this. Sarah's voice was firm. If you go after Marcus tonight, most of you die. The ones who don't die end up in federal prison, and Noah and Ivy end up exactly where Marcus wants them. She paused. Let me do my job. Let the Bureau handle this. Ghost lit a cigarette, took a long drag, and exhaled smoke toward the ceiling. How long would that take? 6 months, maybe a year. And where do the kids go in the meantime? Protective custody, safe house, federal marshals, and bam. Ghost shook her head. So they go from one cage to another. Different walls, same fear. She flicked ash onto the concrete. No deal. This isn't a negotiation. You're right. It's not. Ghost stepped closer until she was inches from Sarah. Those kids are under my protection. That means something here. It means we fight. It means we bleed. It means we die if we have to. Her voice dropped to something cold and lethal. And if the FBI wants them, they're going to have to go through all of us first. Sarah held Ghost's gaze for 3 long seconds. Then she did something unexpected. She smiled, small, bitter. You remind me of someone, Sarah said quietly. Who? My sister, Noah's mother. Sarah's expression hardened again. She was just as stubborn, just as loyal, and look where it got her. The words hung in the air like smoke. Noah finally found his voice. What do you want from us? Sarah turned to him. I want you to trust me. I want you to let me take you and Ivy somewhere safe while I finish what your mother started. And if we say no, then you die. Tonight. Tomorrow. Next week. It doesn't matter. Sarah's voice was flat. Marcus knows you're here. He knows about the Iron Vultures. And he's not going to stop until every single person in this building is dead. How do you know that? Noah asked. Sarah pulled out her phone, tapped a few buttons, and held it up. The screen showed a text message conversation. Recent. Time-stamped 20 minutes ago. The last message read, burn it all, no survivors. Sender, unknown number. But everyone in the room knew who it was from. Marcus Trent. Ghost exhaled smoke slowly. When? My intel says he's mobilizing now, gathering his people, loading weapons, coordinating with his partners. Sarah pocketed her phone. If I had to guess, you've got 2 hours, maybe 3. Then we move first. Ghost turned to the club. Everybody gear up. We hit Marcus before he hits us. That's suicide, Sarah said. So is waiting. Ghost's eyes were cold. We know where his warehouse is. We know his security setup. We go in fast. We go in hard. And we end this. And Noah's mother? Sarah asked sharply. You think Marcus keeps her at his main operation? He's smarter than that. The moment you attack, she's dead. Leverage gone. No witnesses. Ghost hesitated. Just for a second. Sarah pressed the advantage. You want to save these kids? Then let me coordinate with my team. We can hit multiple locations simultaneously. Extract Noah's mother. Cut off Marcus's escape routes. She paused. But we do it my way. By the book. Clean. Clean doesn't exist in this world, Wraith said. Maybe not. But it's better than getting everyone killed for nothing. Ghost stared at Sarah, weighing options, calculating odds. Finally, she spoke. How many agents do you have on standby? Enough. Not good enough. I need numbers. Sarah hesitated. 12, maybe 15 if I can pull resources from other field offices. Against 30 of Marcus's men plus whatever backup he calls in from the Russians and the cartel. Ghost shook her head. Your people get slaughtered. We're trained federal agents. And his people are killers who've been doing this their whole lives. Ghost took another drag. You want to save Noah's mother? You want to take down Marcus? You need us. I can't authorize civilian involvement in a federal operation. Then don't authorize it. Ghost's smile was cold. We'll just happen to be in the same place at the same time. Sarah stared at her. You're serious? As a heart attack. For a long moment, nobody moved. The tension in the garage was suffocating. Then Sarah spoke quietly. If we do this, I'm in command. My rules, my operation. You follow orders. Ghost's jaw tightened. We follow the plan. But if things go sideways, we do what we do best, which is survive. Sarah studied Ghost, then nodded slowly. Fine, but Noah and Ivy stay here. Protected, out of the line of fire. Agreed. Noah stood abruptly. No. Every eye turned to him. I'm going with you, Noah said. His voice shook but held firm. Absolutely not, Ghost said. She's my mother. Noah's hands curled into fists. I'm not sitting here while you risk your lives for her. You're 14 years old, Sarah said. You're not trained. You're not armed. You'd be a liability. I don't care. Noah's voice rose. I've been a liability my whole life. I've been weak and scared and useless while everyone around me suffered. He looked at Ghost. You said I'm under your protection. You said I'm part of this. If that's true, then let me fight. Noah, Ghost started. Let me fight, Noah shouted. His voice cracked. Please, I can't just sit here. I can't just wait. Not again. Not while she's out there. The garage fell silent. Ivy grabbed Noah's arm. Don't leave me. Noah knelt beside her, hands on her shoulders. I have to. Mom's alive, Ivy. She's alive and she needs help. Then I'm coming too. No, you stay here. Where it's safe. Nowhere safe. Ivy's eyes filled with tears. You said so yourself. Noah's chest tightened. She was right. There was no safe anymore. There was only survival. And sometimes survival meant fighting. Ghost crouched beside them both. Noah, listen to me. What we're about to do is dangerous, real dangerous. People are going to die tonight. Maybe all of us. Her voice was quiet but firm. If you come, I can't promise I can protect you. I'm not asking you to protect me. Noah met her eyes. I'm asking you to let me protect my family. For once, Ghost held his gaze for a long moment. Then she looked at Sarah. Your call, Agent Vale. Sarah's jaw was tight. This is insane. Welcome to our world. Sarah exhaled sharply, running a hand through her hair. Fine, but he stays with me at all times, and if things go bad, I pull him out. Non-negotiable. Deal. Ghost stood and turned to the club. Reaper, Smoke. You two stay here with Ivy. Full lockdown protocol. Nobody gets in or out unless it's us. Reaper nodded. Smoke moved immediately to the security monitors. Ghost looked at Ivy. Sweetheart, these two are going to keep you safe, I promise. Ivy's face was pale, terrified, but she nodded. Noah pulled her into a fierce hug. I'll come back. I swear. You promised that before, Ivy whispered. I know, but this time, Noah's voice broke. This time I mean it. He pulled away before she could respond, before he lost his nerve. Ghost grabbed a spare leather vest from a wall hook and tossed it to Noah. Put this on. It's not armor, but it's better than nothing. Noah pulled it on. It was too big, smelled like cigarette smoke and motor oil, but the weight of it felt grounding. Real. Wraith appeared beside him, holding a knife in a leather sheath. You know how to use one of these? Noah shook his head. Good. Don't try. She strapped it to his belt anyway. But if someone gets close, you stick the pointy end in their gut and you don't stop until they stop moving. Understood? Noah swallowed hard. Understood. Creed moved through the garage, handing out weapons, pistols, shotguns, rifles. The bikers checked magazines, loaded chambers, moved with the practiced efficiency of people who'd done this before. Sarah made a series of phone calls, barking coordinates and orders to people on the other end. Her FBI team, her backup, her people who probably thought this entire operation was insane. They'd be right. Within 15 minutes, the Iron Vultures were ready. 21 bikers, 1 FBI agent, 1 terrified 14-year-old, against an army. Ghost stood at the front of the garage, her shotgun slung over her shoulder, eyes scanning the faces around her. When she spoke, her voice carried across the concrete like a war drum. We've been through hell before, most of us multiple times. We've lost brothers, sisters, people we loved. She paused. Tonight we're walking into hell again, but this time, we're not walking out alone, we're bringing someone home. The bikers were silent, listening. Marcus Trent thinks we're just outlaws, criminals, garbage society threw away. Ghost's voice hardened. He's about to learn what happens when you fuck with garbage that fights back. A few grim smiles, nods of agreement. Stay tight. Watch your corners. Cover your brothers. Ghost's eyes swept across them. And if you see Marcus Trent, you put him down. Hard. No hesitation. No mercy. She raised her shotgun. For Noah's mother. For every kid Marcus Trent has hurt. For every family he's destroyed. The bikers raised their weapons in unison. Let's ride, Basham. The convoy rolled out into the rain-soaked streets at 9:47 p.m. 21 motorcycles, engines roaring, chrome gleaming under streetlights. The sound of that many Harleys moving together was like thunder. Deep, primal, unstoppable. Noah rode behind Ghost, arms wrapped around her waist, rain stinging his face despite the helmet she'd forced him to wear. The world blurred past. Warehouses, empty lots, chain-link fences. The industrial district at night looked like something out of a nightmare. Sarah followed in an unmarked sedan with 3 other agents Noah hadn't met. FBI backup. Professional. Trained. But even they looked nervous. Wraith's voice crackled over the comms system Ghost had rigged between the bikes. 2 minutes out. Ghost's response was calm. Copy. Everyone remember the plan. The plan was simple, brutal. Sarah's team would hit the front entrance. Distraction. Draw fire. Keep Marcus's people focused. The Iron Vultures would breach from the rear loading dock. Fast. Quiet. Find Noah's mother. Extract. If everything went right, they'd be in and out in under 10 minutes. If things went wrong, they'd all die in a hail of gunfire. Noah tried not to think about which outcome was more likely. The warehouse appeared through the rain. A massive 3-story structure made of rusted, corrugated metal and crumbling concrete. Lights blazed from inside. Vehicles parked in a semicircle around the entrance. Guards visible even from a distance. Marcus's fortress. The convoy split. Sarah's sedan continued toward the front. The motorcycles veered right, circling around to the back through an alley choked with debris and broken glass. Ghost killed her engine 50 yards out. The others followed suit. Silence. Just rain. Breathing. The distant thrum of generators inside the warehouse. Ghost dismounted and pulled Noah off the bike. Stay behind me, always. Noah nodded, throat too dry to speak. The bikers moved through the rain like ghosts, silent despite their size, weapons ready, eyes scanning for threats. They reached the loading dock. A single steel door, padlocked. Creed stepped forward with a set of bolt cutters. 3 seconds later, the lock fell away. Wraith tested the door. Unlocked. She looked at Ghost. Ready? Ghost nodded. Wraith pushed the door open. Darkness inside. The smell of mold and rust and something worse. Something organic and rotting. Ghost clicked on a tactical flashlight mounted to her shotgun. The beam cut through the darkness, revealing rows of metal shelving, crates stacked to the ceiling, concrete floors stained black, and blood. Fresh blood. Leading deeper into the warehouse. Ghost's jaw tightened. She keyed the comms. Sarah, we're in. I'm seeing blood trails, multiple. Fresh. Bombed. Yishwara. Sarah's voice crackled back. Copy. We're breaching front entrance in 30 seconds. Once we do, you'll have maybe 5 minutes before Marcus realizes what's happening. Understood. Ghost looked back at the bikers. Tight formation. Watch your six. Let's move. They advanced into the warehouse. The first body was 20 feet inside. Male, mid-20s, throat slit, still warm. Ghost stepped over it without comment. The second body was 30 feet further. Same method, same efficiency. Someone's already here, Wraith whispered. Marcus cleaning house, Ghost replied. Eliminating loose ends before we arrive. Or he knows we're coming. Ghost didn't respond. She just kept moving. The warehouse opened up into a larger space, what might have once been a factory floor. Machinery rusted into grotesque shapes, overhead lights flickering, and in the center, a chair, metal, bolted to the floor. Empty. But the restraints hanging from the arms were stained dark. Noah's stomach turned. Someone had been held here, tortured here, maybe his mother. Spread out, Ghost ordered. Check every room, every corner. The bikers fanned out across the space. Noah stayed glued to Ghost's side, heart hammering so hard he thought his ribs might crack. Then gunfire erupted from the front of the building. Sarah's team had engaged. The warehouse exploded into chaos, voices shouting, footsteps pounding on metal stairs, doors slamming. Ghost grabbed Noah and shoved him behind a concrete pillar. Stay here. Don't move. Ghost, don't move. She disappeared into the darkness. Noah pressed his back against the pillar, breathing in short gasps, trying to stay calm, trying not to panic as gunfire echoed through the warehouse like thunder. Then someone grabbed him from behind, a hand clamped over his mouth, an arm wrapped around his throat. Found you, a voice whispered in his ear. Noah thrashed, tried to scream, but the grip was iron tight. The man dragged him backward, away from the pillar, away from Ghost, away from safety. Noah's vision blurred. He clawed at the arm around his neck, but it was useless. His attacker dragged him through a doorway, down a narrow hallway, into a back room. The hand released his mouth just long enough for Noah to suck in air before being slammed face first against a concrete wall. Stars exploded across his vision. You made a big mistake, kid. The voice was familiar, cold. Noah turned his head just enough to see. Marcus Trent. He looked different than Noah remembered. Thinner, eyes bloodshot, a wild edge to his expression that hadn't been there before. He was unraveling. Where is she? Noah gasped. Marcus's laugh was harsh. You came all this way for her? That's sweet. Stupid, but sweet. Where is she at Bond? Dead, probably. Marcus shrugged. I stopped keeping track weeks ago. Too many faces. Too many. Noah's vision went red. He didn't think, didn't plan, just acted. He grabbed the knife Wraith had given him, ripped it from the sheath, and drove it into Marcus's thigh with everything he had. Marcus screamed. Noah pulled the blade free and drove it in again. Higher this time. Ribs. Marcus stumbled backward, blood pouring from the wounds, face twisted in shock and rage. You little... The door exploded inward. Ghost stood in the doorway, shotgun raised, eyes cold. She didn't hesitate. The shotgun blast was deafening in the small room. Marcus Trent flew backward, chest erupting in red, and hit the wall with a wet thud. He slid to the floor, still alive, gasping, blood bubbling from his lips. Ghost stepped forward and pressed the shotgun barrel against his forehead. Where is she? Her voice was death itself. Marcus's laugh was wet, choking. Too late, she's... Another voice cut through the chaos. Noah? Noah spun around. A woman stood in the doorway. Thin, pale, bruised, hair matted with blood and dirt. But her eyes. Noah knew those eyes. Mom? She stumbled forward. Noah caught her as she collapsed, and they both hit the floor in a tangle of limbs and sobs. Noah! Oh, God! Noah! His mother's voice was broken, raw. You came. You actually came. I'm here. I'm here. Noah held her so tight he thought his arms might break. You're safe. You're safe now. Ghost stood over Marcus, who was still gasping, still alive. You got 10 seconds to tell me where the others are, Ghost said quietly. What others? Marcus wheezed. The other kids you've taken. The other families you've destroyed. Marcus's smile was blood-stained. Everywhere, nowhere, you'll never find them all. His eyes fixed on Noah. And when I'm gone, someone else will take over. There's always someone else. Ghost's finger tightened on the trigger. Wait! Sarah's voice called from the hallway. She appeared in the doorway, pistol drawn, 3 agents behind her. He's federal evidence, Sarah said. We need him alive. Ghost didn't move, didn't lower the shotgun. For 3 seconds, nobody breathed. Then Ghost stepped back. He's yours. The agents moved in immediately, securing Marcus, reading rights, calling for medical. Sarah moved to Noah and his mother. Ma'am, my name is Sarah. Noah's mother looked up, tears streaming down her face. I know, I remember. The sisters stared at each other. Years of separation, years of pain. Then Sarah pulled her sister into a fierce embrace. Noah watched them, his chest tight, overwhelmed by emotions he couldn't name. They'd done it. They'd actually done it. The extraction took another hour. Sarah's team secured the warehouse, found files, documents, evidence of trafficking operations spanning 3 states, enough to put Marcus away for life, if he survived his injuries. The Iron Vultures regrouped outside. 2 had been wounded in the firefight at the front entrance. Non-fatal. They'd live. Ghost stood beside her motorcycle, smoking a cigarette, watching EMTs load Noah's mother into an ambulance. Noah approached her slowly. Thank you, he said. The words felt inadequate, meaningless. Ghost exhaled smoke. Don't thank me yet, kid. This isn't over. What do you mean? I mean, Marcus was right. There's always someone else. His operation doesn't just disappear because we took him down. She flicked ash onto wet concrete. You and Ivy are still in danger. Your mother, too. Noah's stomach dropped. Then what do we do? Ghost looked at him. You survive. You stay smart. You stay vigilant. She paused. And if you need us, you know where to find us. Before Noah could respond, Sarah appeared. We need to move, she said. Get Noah and his mother into protective custody before word spreads about what happened here. Ghost nodded. Where are you taking them? Can't tell you that. Sarah, I'm serious. The fewer people who know, the safer they are. Ghost's jaw tightened, but she nodded. Sarah looked at Noah. Say your goodbyes, quick. Noah turned back to Ghost. 1,000 things he wanted to say jammed in his throat. Ghost saved him the trouble. She pulled him into a brief, fierce hug. You did good tonight, kid, she said quietly. Your mother would be proud. Noah's eyes burned. Will I see you again? Ghost pulled back, studied his face. Maybe, maybe not. She smiled slightly. But if you ever need us, you knock, just like before. Noah nodded, not trusting his voice. Ghost walked back to her motorcycle. The Iron Vultures mounted up. Engines roared to life. One by one, they rolled out into the rain-soaked night, disappearing into the darkness like ghosts. Sarah guided Noah toward a waiting SUV. Inside, his mother sat wrapped in a blanket, pale and exhausted but alive. Noah climbed in beside her. She pulled him close. As the SUV pulled away from the warehouse, Noah looked back through the rain-streaked window. The clubhouse lights were visible in the distance, flickering, fading, and for the first time in his life, Noah understood what home meant. Not a place, a feeling. Safety carved from violence. Family forged in fire. Protection earned through blood. The Iron Vultures had given him that. And no matter where the FBI took him, no matter how far he ran, he'd carry that with him. Always. End of part 4. But as the SUV disappeared into the night and Marcus Trent lay bleeding in federal custody, a phone buzzed in a darkened office 3 states away. A man answered, listened, and smiled coldly as he learned that his organization's East Coast operation had been compromised. Interesting, he said quietly. Then he made a call, and somewhere in the darkness, engines started. The war wasn't over. It had only just begun. The safe house sat 40 miles outside the city in a place where roads had no names and neighbors didn't ask questions. Noah woke to the smell of coffee and antiseptic. Sunlight filtered through thick curtains, casting pale rectangles across unfamiliar walls. For 3 seconds, he forgot where he was. Then it all came flooding back. The warehouse. The blood. Marcus's dying smile. His mother's skeletal frame collapsing in his arms. He sat up slowly. His body ached everywhere. Bruises he didn't remember getting painted his ribs purple and yellow. The knife wound on his hand where the blade had slipped during the fight had been stitched and bandaged. The door opened quietly. Sarah stood in the doorway holding a mug of coffee. She looked different in daylight. Older, harder, carrying weight Noah could see now in the lines around her eyes. "You're awake," she said. Noah nodded. His throat was too dry to speak. Sarah set the coffee on the bedside table. "Your mother's sleeping, so is Ivy. They're both safe." "For how long?" The question hung in the air. Sarah pulled a chair close and sat. "Marcus Trent survived surgery. He's in federal custody under armed guard. We recovered evidence linking him to trafficking operations in 6 states, involving dozens of victims." She paused. "He's going away for life, multiple life sentences." "That's not what I asked." Noah's voice was hoarse. "I asked how long we're safe." Sarah's jaw tightened. Marcus was middle management. There are people above him. People with resources we're still mapping. The Russians, the cartels, networks that don't just disappear because we arrested one man. "So we're not safe at all." "You're safer than you were 48 hours ago." Sarah leaned forward. "But safe? Completely safe? That might take time." "How much time?" "No, months, maybe years." She held his gaze. "The Bureau can keep you in witness protection. New identities, new city, new lives. You'd have to leave everything behind, but you'd be alive." Noah stared at her. "And the Iron Vultures? What about them? Do they get new identities too? New lives?" Noah's voice hardened. "Or do they go back to their clubhouse and wait for Marcus's people to come finish what he started?" Sarah was silent. "That's what I thought." Noah stood, ignoring the pain shooting through his legs. "You're asking us to disappear while the people who saved us get left behind to die. The Iron Vultures can take care of themselves." "Can they? Against the Russians? Against the cartels?" Noah's hands curled into fists. "You said it yourself. This is bigger than Marcus." "Which means everyone connected to what happened last night is a target now." "Ich stimmt's." Sarah stood slowly. "What do you want me to say, Noah? That I can protect everyone?" "I can't. The Bureau has limited resources, limited jurisdiction. I can save you and your family, or I can try to save a motorcycle club with criminal records that makes them ineligible for federal protection." She paused. "I'm choosing you. I didn't ask you to choose. Someone has to." The words hit like a slap. Noah looked away, jaw tight, fighting back emotions he didn't know how to name. Ghost had saved him. Wraith, Creed, Reaper, all of them. They'd risked everything. And now they were being abandoned because the system that failed Noah in the first place decided they weren't worth saving. "This is how it always works, isn't it?" Noah's voice was bitter. "People like us only matter when we're useful. The moment we become complicated, we get thrown away." Sarah's expression flickered. Pain, maybe. Or guilt. "I'm doing everything I can." "Then do more." Before Sarah could respond, footsteps echoed in the hallway. The door opened and Noah's mother appeared, wrapped in an oversized sweater, face gaunt, but her eyes clear for the first time in months. "Noah," she said quietly. He turned. For a moment, neither of them moved. Then Noah crossed the room and pulled her into a fierce embrace. She was so thin he could feel her ribs, so fragile he was afraid of breaking her, but she held him just as tight. "I'm sorry," she whispered against his shoulder. "I'm so sorry. I tried to get us out. I tried so hard." I know. Noah's voice cracked. "It's not your fault. I left you alone. I left both of you." "You were taken. You didn't leave." Noah pulled back just enough to meet her eyes. "Marcus took you, and you survived. That's all that matters." His mother's face crumpled. Tears spilled down her cheeks. "When I thought I'd never see you again, but you did. We found you." Noah's grip tightened. "We're together now. That's what matters." She nodded, unable to speak. Sarah watched them from the doorway, something unreadable crossing her face. Then she cleared her throat. I'm going to give you two some privacy. There's food in the kitchen, clean clothes in the closet. She hesitated. We'll talk more later about next steps. She left, closing the door softly. Noah's mother sank onto the edge of the bed, exhausted. Sarah said you went into the warehouse, that you fought Marcus. Noah nodded. Noah, you're 14. I know how old I am. His voice was sharper than intended. He softened it. I couldn't just wait, not while you were in there. You could have been killed. So could you. Noah sat beside her. I wasn't going to let that happen. His mother stared at him, seeing something she hadn't seen before. Her little boy had become someone else in the months she'd been gone. Someone harder, older, scarred in ways that wouldn't show on the surface. What happened to you? She whispered. Noah looked away. I survived, same as you. That's not an answer. It's the only one I have. The silence stretched between them, not hostile, but heavy with everything neither of them knew how to say. Finally, Noah spoke. The Iron Vultures, the bikers who helped us, they're in danger now because of what they did. His mother's jaw tightened. I know. Sarah says she can't protect them. I know that too. Noah looked at her. So what do we do, Sarah? His mother was quiet for a long time. When she spoke, her voice was steady. We survive, we heal, and when we're strong enough, we find a way to pay them back. How? I don't know yet. She met his eyes. But we don't abandon people who bled for us. Ever. You see that. 3 days passed in the safe house. Noah's mother regained some strength. Ivy slowly started speaking again. Short sentences. Whispered words, but progress. Sarah coordinated with federal prosecutors building the case against Marcus Trent and dismantling his network piece by piece. But Noah couldn't stop thinking about the Iron Vultures. On the fourth morning, he found Sarah in the kitchen reviewing files on her laptop. I need to see them, Noah said. Sarah looked up. Who? It? Ghost. The club. I need to know they're okay. That's not a good idea. I don't care if it's a good idea. Noah's voice was firm. They saved my life, my mother's life, Ivy's life. I'm not just going to disappear without saying anything. Sarah closed the laptop. Noah, the moment you make contact with them, you create a trail, a connection that could be traced. If Marcus's people are looking for leverage, let them look. Noah pulled out a chair and sat across from her. You keep talking about protecting us by hiding us. But hiding doesn't erase what happened. It doesn't change the fact that we owe them. You don't owe them anything. They made their choice. And we're making ours. Noah leaned forward. One phone call. That's all I'm asking. Let me talk to Ghost. Let me thank her. Then I'll do whatever witness protection requires. Sarah studied him. This is important to you. More than anything. She was silent for a long moment. Then she pulled out a burner phone from her jacket, dialed a number, and handed it to Noah. It rang 3 times before someone answered. Yeah? Ghost's voice, rough with cigarette smoke and exhaustion. Ghost. It's Noah. A pause. Then, Kid, you okay? Yeah, I'm safe. Mom and Ivy, too. Noah's throat tightened. Are you? Define safe. Ghost? We're fine, Noah. Little banged up. Nothing we haven't dealt with before. Her voice was steady, but Noah could hear the weight beneath it. Your mom doing okay? She's getting stronger, slowly. Noah paused. I wanted to say thank you for everything. I know it's not enough, but it's enough, Ghost interrupted. You got your family back. That's all that matters. What about you? Sarah said Marcus's people might come after the club. They might not. Ghost exhaled. Probably smoke. But if they do, we'll be ready. We always are. I wish I could help. You already did, kid. You survived. You fought. You didn't give up. Her voice softened slightly. That's all anyone can ask. Noah's vision blurred. I don't know how to leave, how to just walk away after everything. Then don't think of it as walking away. Think of it as living the life we fought to give you. Ghost paused. You got a chance now. A real chance. Don't waste it carrying guilt that isn't yours. But Noah, listen to me. Ghost's voice was firm. The world is full of people who'll tell you that you have to save everyone, that you have to fix everything. But you can't. Nobody can. She paused. All you can do is save who you can, love who you can, and keep moving forward. Noah wiped his eyes with the back of his hand. Will I see you again? Maybe, maybe not. Ghost's tone shifted to something lighter. But if you ever need us, you know where to find us. The door is always open. Thank you, Noah whispered. No, kid. Thank you. The line went dead. Noah sat holding the phone, staring at nothing, feeling something inside him shift. Not closure exactly, but acceptance maybe. The understanding that some chapters end even when you're not ready. Sarah took the phone back gently. Feel better? Noah nodded. Yeah, I do. Pulse. 2 weeks later, Noah stood in an airport terminal, holding Ivy's hand while his mother checked their boarding passes. New names, new city, new lives waiting 3,000 miles away. Sarah stood nearby, arms crossed, watching the crowd with the kind of vigilance that never turned off. You'll have a handler when you land, Sarah said. Someone from the Marshal Service. They'll get you set up. Housing, school enrollment, everything. Noah's mother nodded. And Marcus? Trial's scheduled for 8 months from now. You'll have to testify. Sarah's jaw tightened. But he's not getting out, ever. Good. Sarah turned to Noah. You take care of them. I will. And Noah? Sarah hesitated. What you did in that warehouse, going after Marcus like that was brave. Stupid, but brave. Sounds like something my aunt would say, Noah replied quietly. Sarah's expression flickered. Then she pulled him into a brief, fierce hug. Your mother raised a good kid. So did yours. Sarah pulled back, blinking hard. Then she turned to her sister. The two women stared at each other. Years of separation, years of loss, years of surviving different wars. Stay safe, Sarah said. You too. No promises of staying in touch, no plans for future reunions. Just two sisters who'd learned long ago that survival sometimes meant letting go. Sarah walked away without looking back. Noah watched her disappear into the crowd, then turned to his mother. Ready? Aye. She squeezed his hand, as I'll ever be. They boarded the plane. 6 months passed. The new city was smaller than Noah expected, cleaner, quieter. The kind of place where people smiled at strangers and crime happened on TV instead of in the alley behind your building. It felt alien. Noah enrolled in a new school under a new name, made a few cautious friends, kept his head down, tried to be normal. But normal felt like a lie he was wearing that didn't quite fit. Ivy adjusted better. She started talking more, laughing occasionally. The nightmares faded slowly, replaced by dreams that didn't always end in screaming. Their mother found work at a local library. Quiet job. Steady pay. The kind of stability she'd never been able to give them before. They rented a small house on a street with trees and neighbors who waved when you walked past. It should have felt like safety. But Noah couldn't shake the feeling that he was waiting. For what? He didn't know. Until the night he came home from school and found a leather vest hanging on his bedroom door. No note, no explanation. Just the vest, worn, smelling like motor oil and cigarette smoke, with the Iron Vulture's patch stitched across the back. Noah's hand shook as he pulled it down. Inside the front pocket, he found a single photograph. It showed the Iron Vulture's clubhouse at night. Motorcycles lined up outside, figures visible through the lit windows. And standing at the entrance, barely visible in the shadows, Ghost raised a coffee mug toward the camera. A salute. A promise. A reminder. Noah pressed the photograph to his chest and let out a breath he didn't know he'd been holding. They hadn't forgotten. And neither would he. The trial happened in early December. Noah sat in the federal courthouse wearing clothes that felt too tight, too formal, too wrong. His mother sat beside him. Ivy stayed home, too young to testify, too fragile to face Marcus again. Marcus Trent was led into the courtroom in chains. He'd lost weight. His eyes were sunken. The predator had become prey. But when his gaze found Noah's across the room, he smiled. That same cold, knowing smile. Noah's hands curled into fists. The prosecution laid out evidence in meticulous detail: trafficking operations, money laundering, dozens of victims, photographs that made the jury look away. Noah's mother testified first, her voice steady despite the tremor in her hands. She described the months of captivity, the threats, the fear, the moment she thought she'd never see her children again. Then it was Noah's turn. He walked to the witness stand on legs that felt like they might give out. The prosecutor asked questions. Noah answered, described the apartment, the abuse, the night he knocked on the Iron Vulture's door. Marcus's lawyer tried to poke holes in his testimony, tried to paint Noah as unreliable, a troubled kid with a history of running away. But the jury had already seen the photographs of Noah's bruises, had heard the other victims testify, had seen the evidence that couldn't be argued away. When Noah stepped down, he met Marcus's eyes one last time. And this time Noah smiled, small, cold, victorious. Marcus looked away first. Quite. The verdict came 3 days later. Guilty. On all counts. Marcus Trent was sentenced to 6 consecutive life sentences without possibility of parole. Noah stood outside the courthouse afterward, breathing in cold December air, feeling something inside him finally loosen. It was over. Not healed, not forgotten, but over. His mother put an arm around his shoulders. Come on, let's go home. Home. The word still felt strange. But as they walked to the car, Noah realized something had changed. The fear that had lived in his chest for months, the constant weight of waiting for the other shoe to drop, was gone. Marcus couldn't hurt them anymore. And the people who'd saved them were still out there, still riding, still fighting for kids who had nowhere else to go. That night, Noah sat on the roof of their small house, leather vest wrapped around him against the cold, and looked at the stars. Somewhere out there, engines were roaring. Bikers were riding through the dark. And a clubhouse full of wounded, dangerous, fiercely loyal people was keeping watch over someone else who needed them. The world was still cold, still brutal, still full of monsters who preyed on the vulnerable, but it was also full of people like Ghost, like Wraith and Creed and Reaper, people who stood between the darkness and the ones who couldn't fight back, silent protectors carved from violence and old scars, outlaw guardians who didn't give up. Noah pulled the vest tighter and made himself a promise. Someday, when he was strong enough, when he was old enough, he'd go back. Not to ask for help, but to offer it. Because that's what family did. And the Iron Vultures had taught him what family really meant. Not blood, not obligation, but choice. The choice to stand, to fight, to protect, even when it cost everything. Sects. Years passed. Noah grew. Graduated high school. Ivy started thriving in school. Art and writing and dreams bigger than the nightmare they'd escaped. Their mother remarried eventually. A quiet man who treated them kindly and never asked about the scars. Noah went to college, studied criminal justice. Not because he wanted to be a cop, but because he wanted to understand the systems that had failed him. The cracks where kids like him fell through. The cracks where predators hid. He kept the leather vest in his closet, wore it sometimes when the memories got too heavy, looked at the photograph of Ghost standing in the clubhouse doorway, and reminded himself that survival was possible, that protection existed, that family could be chosen. On his 21st birthday, Noah made a decision. He packed a bag, left a note for his mother, and rode a bus 3,000 miles back to the city he'd fled from years ago. The industrial district looked the same. Empty warehouses, broken streetlights, chain-link fences topped with barbed wire, and at the end of a dead-end street, the Iron Vulture's clubhouse. Older, more rusted, but still standing. Noah walked to the side door and knocked. 3 times, soft, deliberate. The door opened. Ghost stood there, older now, more gray in her hair, more lines in her face. But her eyes were the same, sharp, uncompromising, seeing everything. She looked at Noah. Recognition flickered. Then something like pride. "You came back," she said quietly. "I told you I would." Ghost studied him for a long moment. Then she stepped aside. Then come in. We got work to do. Noah crossed the threshold into the warmth and noise and smell of motor oil and cigarette smoke. The garage was full. Bikers working on motorcycles, playing cards, living lives society had tried to throw away. They looked up as Noah entered. Some faces he recognized. Others were new. But they all had the same look. Survivors, protectors. Warriors carved from trauma and old wounds. Ghost walked Noah to the center of the garage. "Everyone," she called. The noise stopped. "We got a new prospect." Noah felt every eye on him. Ghost looked at him. "You ready for this?" What? Noah thought about everything that had brought him here. The fear. The pain. The nights of wondering if he'd survive. The people who'd stood between him and the darkness when nobody else would. "Yeah," he said. "I'm ready." Ghost's smile was small, proud. "Welcome home, kid." And for the first time in his life, Noah understood what that word really meant. Not a place, not safety, but belonging. The kind of belonging that was earned through blood and choice, and the willingness to stand watch over people who couldn't stand for themselves. Outside, snow began to fall. Inside the Iron Vulture's clubhouse, Noah Vale took off his old life and put on his new one. A leather cut, heavy boots, the weight of responsibility. And somewhere in the city, in the dark places where monsters still hunted, another scared kid was running out of options, running out of hope, looking for a door to knock on, looking for someone to answer. And when they came, the Iron Vultures would be there. Because that's what they did. That's what they'd always done. Protect the ones nobody else would. Fight the battles nobody else could. Stand watch in the dark so the innocent could sleep safe. Not perfect, not clean, not heroes by any traditional measure, but family. The kind of family forged in fire and sealed with blood. The kind that never abandoned their own. Noah stood in the center of the garage, surrounded by his brothers and sisters in leather. And finally, after years of running, years of fear, years of carrying weight no child should have to bear, he let himself breathe, let himself rest, let himself believe that safety was real. Because here, in this garage full of outlaws and warriors and wounded souls who refused to quit, he'd found something worth fighting for, something worth protecting, something worth becoming. Not just a survivor, but a guardian. And the legacy of the Iron Vultures, the legacy of standing between the darkness and the light, would continue. One rescued kid at a time, one knocked door at a time, one family at a time. Ghost stood beside Noah and lit a cigarette. "You know what you're signing up for?" "Yeah. It's gonna be hard, dangerous. Most nights you won't sleep easy." "I know." Ghost nodded. "Then let's get to work." Outside, the snow fell heavier. Inside, the Iron Vultures prepared for whatever came next. Because the world was full of monsters, but it was also full of people willing to fight them. And as long as the Iron Vultures rode, as long as they stood watch, as long as they kept their doors open for the ones running out of hope, there would always be light in the darkness, always protection in the storm, always a family for the ones who'd lost theirs. And Noah Vale, once a scared 14-year-old kid standing in the rain with nothing left to lose, had finally come home. Not to the place he'd run from, but to the place he'd been running toward his entire life. A garage full of damaged, dangerous, fiercely loyal people who'd looked at a broken kid and said, "You're ours now," and meant it, forever. In a world that throws away the wounded, the broken, and the forgotten, sometimes the only family worth having is the one you choose. The Iron Vultures MC, protectors of the lost, guardians of the abandoned, and proof that family isn't defined by blood, but by the willingness to bleed for each other. This story is dedicated to everyone who's ever knocked on a door in the dark, hoping someone would answer, and to the ones who did.